Hey, wake up.
Oh no. Wait, did I sleep? Must be the most boring book in existence that we're going to talk about today on this 42nd episode of the Jaded Talk. Hero's Trial. Yeah, I guess I'm joined by Pico and Noah. You must have joined while I was asleep, sorry. I'm trying to remember anything about the book, but I think I opened it, then I fell asleep, and then I closed it again.
There's something with Han here, I think.
Something, yeah. Agent stuff, I guess, was in here. Some character that we don't really know a lot of that seems kind of important. Like a unfried KFC chicken. She was here, I guess. She did things.
That guy.
That dude, yeah. That's Sith Lord. Yeah. Yeah, anyways, that's really all there's to say about this fucking snooze fest. So thank you all so much for listening and have a good night. No, today we shall actually speak about a very great book, Hero's Trial. So let me go around and ask you guys, what did you think about Hero's Trial?
I adore this book. It's so fun. It's just charming seeing Han reminisce through life and pretending all of Bantam was worth it.
That is going to be a theme in here, pretending it was all worth it. Lucino has, Lucino's like a good manipulative girlfriend who kind of makes you pretend that things are like different to the way you seem to remember. Like, no, it was all good, like always. And you're like kind of believing it, but also you know that it's not true.
She's your rock, She's there to tell you it's all going to be okay.
Exactly. It's like, don't worry, we'll fix this. It'll all be okay. Just trust me.
Fix it in post. CGI over it.
Jason is like James Lucino. I guess he was kind of he's the ultimate fix it in post guy. And the crazy thing is, he actually did. Like not the books. I mean, the other books are still shit, but he fixed the story, so that was good. Hello, Jason, and hello, British man. Did I have? It depends. I mean, the moment we start speaking about the plot, and I mean, there's barely any plot in here. It's James Lucino. He's kind of boring. But the moment we start speaking about the plot, you will fall asleep. So I would recommend it. And we have another man who's gonna fall asleep. Leland Chi, welcome.
I will eventually need to fall asleep, yes.
Yeah, I mean, here you are. And the thing is, isn't it perfect? You have joined joined the best stream there is to fall asleep to. So be happy.
Because as we all know, this is clearly the most boring New Jedi Order book.
I mean,
at least up there with Force Heretic.
Yeah,
perhaps even Enemy Lines 2.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you think about it, Final Prophecy also isn't like that fantastic. I mean, Darktide, Stacky clearly had his bias. That's why he made the best versions of all these characters.
Yeah, that's why Kip is the villain, clearly.
Obviously, everybody agrees with that.
We're getting it all wrong. Clearly, Age of Victory is the most boring.
That's too far. The sarcasm can't take it.
Yeah, I tried it. It didn't work.
But here we are.
It didn't work.
Yeah, but Graham, what did you, now that you joined while I was asking the question, what did you think about Hero's Trial the last time you read it?
Well, just comparing it against the Jedi Eclipse, this felt like the book that Lucino wanted to write. I think I said this before. Since we know that Agents of Chaos is meant to be one book, the second book feels like it had all the story beats planned out, while this one was a Brian Daley homage. And I think I like this one slightly more. It's not that the other one is bad.
Lucino just people like this one more, but I can go either way at this point. Again,
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they are pretty close. It just
much
felt
like with Dark Tide, I feel like
Mhm.
it's not so much that the one I liked less, or it's not like the one I liked more went down. It's more like the one I liked less just went up in my ranking.
Yep.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. This one just felt slightly more distilled, I guess. Like it was a bit slower. Lucino took his time to explore things more, which is something that I always appreciated in stuff like Wheel of Time, or within Star Wars about every book that Lucino wrote. Especially
I'm going to
Genesis.
assume it was by design to really explore Han's psyche.
Yeah.
and-
Oh yeah, it can't have not been by design. And while sure the important stuff in Jedi Eclipse is great and all,
Would you
it
say
isn't-
it's great, Jade Light? The important stuff.
Ah, it is.
Ah,
Civilization won that day at Center Point Station.
here we go.
We will speak about it more when the seed appears. But of
Oh
course.
right, yes, next week.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Jason, you're absolutely. I hope so. I mean,
Oh yes,
was like
let's
forced
hope
by-
that.
yeah, it sounds like such a mid book. Honestly, like I can't wait to really not like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Boba Fett
yeah.
shows up. Ew.
As we all know, it's not as good an ending as Invincible.
That's true.
Not
That's
as
true.
strong an ending. Yes.
Or I guess the third the third Dark
Yes,
Knight
I agree with the statement.
Lucino wrote the first for Daily and then the second for exactly. He knew he had to write something for somebody. That somebody just didn't. He barely existed. So yeah, that was. It did truly bring happiness to me, and we're gonna speak about that at length. I can't wait. But first things first, Hero's Trial. Noah, I don't know when the last time was that you read this, but I guess do you have anything to add about how you liked it?
I liked it more on second read. It was already great first time. Second read, I realized this is basically a James Bond novel, but in Star
Mhm.
Wars, which was fun.
Which we should have
So,
had
yeah.
more of, in
Mhm.
my opinion. I think
Yeah.
the universe is pretty accessible for that kind of story, but oh well, it is what it is.
We got hints of that kind of thing going on in X-Wing.
That's true, yes. I guess especially in Wedge's Gamble. That is
Yeah, that's the most James Bond movie. We even had Arishi dressing up.
yes, of course.
We also had Arishi being a traitor.
A Bond go.
Yeah, she rates me was Bond girl.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Literally based.
Literally based. So
Mm.
I guess we shall start with the regular thing. Don't worry, this time I also have the Nagano cover. We will speak about that one too.
Wonderful.
But first things first, we'll speak about the international cover, and I still think this is pretty great. So we have, I assume this is Major Showalter. It doesn't quite look like Han. It could be. I
He's
guess
got
but
his
I don't-
beard. It could. I think it.
It could be, but I just assumed because it. Yeah, now that
I think it's meant to be hard.
yeah,
But-
probably because on the
Ugh.
Nagano cover there's also Han, but obviously there's no character called like nobody looking like Showalter would. I just assumed, I guess, because Elaine stood here.
Yeah, that
But then again,
actually makes
there's also
sense.
Drogo.
To be honest.
I always assumed it was supposed to be Showalter.
Yeah, I kind of did too
Hmm.
because
Yeah, you guys are kind of convincing me now.
yeah, because the outfit doesn't
But-
look quite Han-esque, I guess.
It's
If
really
this
just
was
the hairstyle
Han,
that
he would
makes
just
it
be wearing his New Hope outfit. You know that.
True. That is true.
Well, they didn't always follow the classic outfits.
It's mostly the hair that's making me think Han, but
Yeah, kind of the face, I guess.
The
but-
face
The
just looks
facial
too
structure.
different.
Mhm.
But we forget that these paperback covers have atrocious faces in general. I mean,
Yes,
look at
true.
Age of Victory 2. Luke looks like a zombie. And that's being generous.
I mean, Luke lived through horrible eras, so he probably looks like
Yeah,
his
but
aunt.
still.
And
No,
he dated Callista.
In
I get it.
Force Heretic, Luke looks like a. I'm not even sure how to describe what he looks like. This cat fur hair guy with scratches. I don't even know.
I do like the backwards styled hair that Luke has on some covers. That's kind of funny. It doesn't fit him at all, I think, but yeah,
This
Style
one's
at a
prickly. It's
time.
like you got a buzz cut.
yeah, okay. But yeah, I guess it's open whether this could be Han or Showalter, because the thing is, when I started reading this, and I obviously knew, okay, Elan is here, or Elan, and she's accompanied by Vergia, a new character that's going to appear here. I was confused, like,
Wait, that's
this
I
isn't
thought
No,
Vergia.
that's Droma Balls.
That's Droma, yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
wait, is that I was confused. Is that supposed to be Vergia? Because I assumed that was Showalter. I knew that was Elan, and so I was like, that can't be Vergia. But yeah, this is
They
Droma.
really should have put Vergia on the cover because she's so easy to draw compared to
Yeah,
Yeah, but they
anything
didn't know
with a
she was
human
important
face.
yet, or at least they were hiding how important
and
she
I-
is.
Wouldn't it be based if this really isn't Han? Like, this would be a fucking Star Wars book cover with no movie characters on it.
true. I guess so.
But there are also other ones in New Jedi Order with no movie characters on it. Like, Force Heretic 3 just has Danny Kui and Jason.
Traitor.
That is-
True.
And
But I mean, in
Traitor
this,
and
but I mean,
Dark
in this
Journey.
case, it would be characters that are in no way related even to our main characters.
That's true, I suppose.
Like, if that is Showalter, that's just free randos.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. That would be true. It would be cool. And yeah, but the composition is interesting. I guess towards the end, all these characters do actually like meet. Like they at least see each other, I guess. I think Droma and Elan also see each other. So there you go. This behind here, it looks like some machinery. I wondered if that's supposed to be the Jubilee wheel, maybe. I don't know. Like something is here.
This was one of my least favorite covers. No idea what was
Yeah,
going
it's a
on.
bit hard to discern what's what exactly, like in the background.
This looks like a Star Trek novel cover.
Hmm.
I
I wouldn't know what I
who has never watched or read Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's like vaguely round structures here, so I just
Is that
assume-
supposed to be like a Hapen thing? Because I think they looked like that.
The Hapens aren't in this. Are they in this book at all? I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
No,
They might
don't
only
know.
be in Jedi.
This one is just Han. There's almost no other points of view, except that like Leia one at the start and the CCP one.
The CCP.
The CCP. Yeah, Graham has a difficult connection to the CCP.
That makes sense.
Let's not remind him. of
As
that.
we all know, Singapore is definitely part of China. Donald Trump has spoken.
That's true.
That's true.
I've spoken to
Ironic, because he actually came here to meet with Kim that one time. Using our money.
Base.
Yeah, why would he pay himself for that? That would be cringe.
Also, pull up Agents KS2 quickly, like a little just a comparison for the, because there's Han. There's definitely Han on that one, so you can actually compare the two.
You mean the international cover?
Yeah,
Okay.
The face looks pretty similar.
yeah, that's what. That's
Yeah,
what
He's just
I'm
wearing his
going
own
back.
outfit.
I might be going back to Han on this one.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
maintain this is.
It just
Han.
looks like he
You
took
can
off his
see the
jacket and that's
beard
it.
shadow there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like he changed clothes. And...
Does he have the chin scar?
well, it's kind of like a painted thing, so
Yeah, he has this beard shadow thing there.
Yeah, that I mean that one's obviously he has the the more recognizable outfit here.
That's why I think if it was Han on the first cover, he would also wear that outfit.
I think so. I guess, yeah.
Though, the gun shooting pose is definitely Hans. He's fired from the hip a few times.
okay. Can you?
Where
That-
you
that
wrap
cover
it.
is really terrible, by the way.
Yes, that cover is really that terrible.
Yeah, it looked low res. Like there's this weird thing sometimes where some covers look like they're a picture and the picture just was low resolution and then printed on the cover. That was kind of awkward.
Yeah. At
But-
least the
but-
hardcover ones aren't like that.
Hmm.
And most importantly, the Nagano ones aren't like that.
Yeah, let's quickly pull up that one too. There you go. We have
There we go.
definitely Han with a very visual, like recognizable beard. We have Droma
Mhm.
still. We have Luke and Leia. We have two Chewies from the holiday special.
Dude,
I mean, that one's definitely. It looks uncanny a bit, just a bit. I mean,
no, it's lumpy.
rookies.
It's lumpy from the holiday special.
It's lumpy.
Yeah, it is.
This is lumpy. Then I guess this is lowy,
No, I think that's Mala.
I think it's Mala.
or maybe it's smaller.
Yeah, that makes
That
It
makes
should
more
be.
sense.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, here
Don't
we have
get
further
used to those
evidence
characters,
supporting
by the
that
way.
that's Han. Because we have the same patchy white hair up top, just made cooler, and he looks less old.
He looks more like Harrison Ford.
He has that
Yeah.
outfit. Yeah, exactly. He has the outfit that not Han was wearing, and he's next to Joma and Ellen.
Yeah. I don't know.
So if that is supposed to be Han on the original American cover, it's the worst looking Harrison Ford drawing I have ever seen.
Yeah.
It's possibly one of
But
the
it-
worst Star Wars covers. I prefer the Photoshop stuff from the prequels to that.
Could it also be possible that Nagano also fucked up and he thought, well, this
Yeah,
gotta
he
be
thought it
Han?
was Han.
It could also be. I don't see why it couldn't potentially be that. To be honest, like it's possible. I mean, he like the background structure. He hasn't put that in at all. Also, so you know,
Which was
I'm
base
sure he
because
was
that
free to-
background structure was incomprehensible.
yeah.
I mean, it says a lot that
I
he just
think-
copy and pasted Ellen and Roma, but he had to change the entire Han picture. So.
True.
Yeah, I think Nagano just knows when to assume that the cover sucks and to barely reference it, and when to actually draw upon it a lot more, like in, say, Balance Point.
I feel like this Nagano guy might be a good artist. I don't know.
Maybe, just maybe.
I'm sure he is up to great things. But yeah, wait. The title is Hero's Trial. I guess Han has his Hero's Trial. I would assume that he is meant with that, but I don't know.
Unless, of course, he isn't a hero.
Of course, yeah. Maybe he was a villain all along.
Yes.
That's
Maybe
deep.
the hero was for Gary.
Exactly. Maybe he's
Are
a
we-
villain because he wants to throw his baby out of the window.
Oh, right, yes.
Then we completely forgot the German title of this masterpiece.
Yeah, Der Untergang. So downfall. It's literally the downfall.
And that's why this book sucks so much, because the entire time while reading it, you were waiting for Steiner's attack, and it just
I
never
was.
happened.
Like,
So
That's
who
mein Befehl.
plays- So
Did that?
who does Bruno Ganz play in this one? Is it Showalter?
I don't know who is like.
I'm
Yeah.
going to remember that from now on.
I
Every
mean,
time I
so-
read this book, I'm going to think
Walter
of
was
Showalter.
backstabbed by his supposed allies, so he,
Oh, I guess he's
he might be our Lord and
Lindorf now.
yeah, and who knows who everyone else would be in this allegory? I actually haven't thought about it that much, but yeah, downfall is the is the title of. I guess there is downfalls planned here, and yeah, what can I say?
This fits nicely with the previous German titles, and the next one. They are all so similar and terrible. Like, what was it? The Renegades, the Black Flood,
the Black Flood, then
the Doom,
or like Ruin,
the
basically.
Ruins,
I mean,
yeah. Then
then
Downfall. Next one is the Last Chance.
the Last Chance. Yeah, exactly.
Based.
Yeah, it was the last chance of redemption for the Star Wars universe, and they took it. I think the German title is better than the English one. There you go. Was a failure as a it worked long enough, you could say. So, you know, That's true. That's true, of course.
I do not wish to be horny anymore.
It is my character flaw, and I will. I mean, at least he recognizes it's a flaw and wants to combat it. That's like more than most normal human beings, especially those who make fun of him, would do. So there you go. Good on him. Decide to change the cover of the. Yeah. So it could be either this or that. I don't know. Yep. Hello, Arizona. Final Prophecy, just to hear it.
Yeah, I guess we do have the one that has a character unrelated to the movie ones.
I agree. It's really good. In fact, it's good. As I said, I'm not convinced that Leland Chi is an actual existing human being. So
he was the first AI, actually. That's who he was able to make the holocron.
Yeah, probably like Cortana or something, or Siri. He's for Lucasfilm, like specifically designed for him. It's like do a holocron and keep everything in there. Has your fall been set up by this book?
A very good question.
I mean, who knows, right? Like, maybe we didn't see something in here. We're gonna speak about it. Not yet. Oh, yeah.
You're reading that now.
I am. Yeah, of course. Yeah, by Star, everything was clear. Like, Invincible was basically written by the point that Star by Star was released.
We have to talk about the covers for Legacy of the Force.
Oh yeah, no. Like, there's actual like plot relevance for the covers in Legacy of the Force.
I was just thinking because they look fucking awful, and there are morons out there who say, "Oh, those are great."
16-year-old emo Jason who's supposed to be over 30. Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
As we all know, those covers.
I wonder who the sacrifice is.
The best.
Yeah, they're the best because they show like a character.
Mm-hmm.
And in one case, it shows two characters. And like a fight.
I like how Tenelka has no character arc in Legacy of the Force.
I like how Tenelka has no character
and
arc.
Yet
ever.
That's true. And yet got her own special cover.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty depressing to think about.
We're gonna spend at least 2 hours just talking about Ben Skywalker's haircut on the effing X.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I like the cover where Mara Jade looks like Famke Janssen. That's really great. Like
she looks like she's in her 20s.
Yeah, as we know, Mara Jade doesn't age.
And
which 60 is the new 20.
She does a lot of squats.
So. Yeah.
You know, I think the Japanese had the right idea. They solved they just knew what was coming, and then
stopped the darkness.
Had no covers. Yeah, exactly. They stopped the darkness. They knew exactly what was coming, and Nagano didn't need to do any more lousy covers. He could just go and do improvements of the prequel ones.
My work here is done.
Yeah,
that's true.
And they were so correct.
I'm glad Nagano didn't waste his talents on the Denningverse, aside from Darkness.
Imagine he wouldn't have changed he would just have the same character design, just with like a different, more quality drawing, but it's like literally still only one character standing awkwardly somewhere. Yeah.
But imagine him doing like the Fate of the Jedi stuff or something. That would actually be cool, just his version of Abeloth. I wonder if he could make her look not stupid.
That's a good question, but I think we don't need the answer.
I don't want the answer.
Yeah.
Alex's favorite female character in fiction, Tenelka. True. I think Tenelka is the... Tenelka is the only one... Yeah, of course. She's the only one who has confirmed had sex with a prostitute in the Star Wars universe. As far as I know.
There are more.
Really?
I don't know. I was
pretty sure Corin has. I'm pretty sure that was implied.
With an actual prostitute, though?
Probably.
Like not just him
They
being...
didn't explicitly say it, but I think they implied it.
Yeah, like specifically getting money or something of monetary value in exchange. Or providing something in exchange.
Wait, didn't Boba Fett in the stupid Force Unleashed comic?
I don't know, did he?
Isn't that a thing?
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yes. Also, thank you, Sivert, for reminding me of this very important plot point.
He dyes his ginger hair brown.
Yes, because as Karen Travis establishes in Legacy of the Force, gingers, obviously, red hair, it's an anomaly and very rare in the Star Wars universe. It's
Which
not
is
like
hilarious
second...
because of how many people have red hair.
Yeah, I want to say like literally every single book has at least one character with red hair. Not necessarily a main character, but did they mention it? Like,
well, there's this whole piece of artwork that was released on Reddit a couple years back, where the artist basically found the famous people with red hair in the EU and stuck them into one picture. It didn't hit everyone, but there were like 20 pretty famous people there.
yeah, and that's just counting like the famous,
and that's just
like
that's just the really
character.
famous ones.
Sure, there's
Let
more.
me see if I can find it.
Yeah, but as we know, Karen, that's her great world building. The Star Wars universe is just like our own. I think that's the same book where Ben Skywalker is using a rifle with actual like bullets to assassinate someone.
Ah, yes.
Why?
Because
Why would
I don't
you do
know.
That's so
That's strictly
unintuitive.
worse, actually.
Yeah,
That's so you can have the scene where a 14-year-old child is sniping someone with a rifle and you see his fucking brain explode.
Mm-hmm.
That's real, by the way. You're gonna love it.
yeah, totally. I'm sure. So let's instead speak about good books before I
Yay.
connection. So chapter 1, we have a new character, or I guess now we really get to speak about a new character. He is called Harar, and he is a Vong priest, and that's kind of interesting already. We're going to speak about that. He is at Obroa Sky. Obroa Sky has already been conquered, so immediately as this book starts off, it's conquered. And as we learn, the priests have some form of friction or conflict with the military part of the Vong, as we were also kind of told in the last novels leading up to this one. And yeah, what I said I loved about this, really, like that we start off with priests, is that every single time like that we get a new story, there's something new to the Yuuzhan Vong. So like in Vector Prime, we started with the Praetorite, then in Darktide we had the fanatic military guys, and now we have the priests. So we get to see all different aspects of Vong culture, and it makes it not boring, and like actually it feels
like we're learning it as the characters are learning it.
Exactly, yeah. Like slowly,
Yeah.
there's a very controlled flow of information where you always learn a new part, like something new, but not everything. Exactly, you learn as the characters learn, and yeah, I think that's pretty great, and it's also great to keep up like the interest in NJO and specifically in the Vong as characters, like to always give them a new.
It's almost like this was planned out.
Yeah, it's almost like people
imagine
write books,
that,
like just writing books into the ether and hoping something sticks, like throwing it to the wall. No, it's actually like.
Isn't it sad that I think like literally this is the first time since the Thrawn trilogy that the people in charge sat down and wrote an outline so that the story would naturally fill this amount of books?
Yeah.
no way.
The EU existed despite leadership, not because of it. A lot of times, I guess, because this is like normal, actually, but yeah, now they realize
This should be the default, but
yeah, it should be. But here we are, like 10 years later, after the EU actually started, and this is now the first time that it's happening since literally the beginning. So there you go. But yeah, there you go. And Harar prepares a bunch of civilians for, we just learned, like some form of sacrifice ritual, like something about their culture. And he talks to a Gotal, who is I have no idea how to pronounce this, kick priest, I don't know, yeah, H''KIG, whatever. And yeah, he tells him that, good, like doing good deeds and appreciating life, what his gods tell him to do, and that the Jedi, with the Force, something that the Vong specifically cannot have, like they're not existent in it, but they also have no access to it, like in an offensive manner. And the Force, he says, is on their side because the Vong have no possible way of accessing it. And yeah, I was like, oh, cool. Not everybody has swallowed like the anti-Jedi bullshit that I guess has now been festering in the galaxy again because people are idiots, which is a base thing to say. I mean, that's true. So it's an accurate representation of the universe.
Yes, Sivert, Harar does show up here. Pity he doesn't get more to do in the first half.
That's the plot, by the way. Yes.
Geo, but it's nice that he got set up so early.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to point out with Sivert's comment here, the idea is Ben would stick out because of red hair, ignoring the fact that he is literally Luke Skywalker's face.
Yes.
But as we know, nobody knows who Luke Skywalker is.
That's actually a kind of funny plot in the Denningverse. I think both in Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi, Luke and Mara pretend they are Luke and Mara actors in like local theater plays.
That's so stupid.
What?
Oh yeah, that happens multiple times.
What?
Yeah. I know. I remember it being in Fate of the Jedi. I remember it being in Fate of the Jedi because someone was talking to Luke and he was like, hey, your Luke Skywalker costume is pretty nice, but you're way too small to actually be believable.
The scar is not on the wrong side.
Oh no, that's coming back. Oh no.
Yeah. How about we just...
I haven't thought about that in like, I don't know, 10 years?
Maybe that was for the better, but now here you are.
No, more than that. It's been like...
It's like you're experiencing it again,
No.
but the first time.
Exactly. Isn't it beautiful? Harar shows up already. He's one of those characters I wish people talked about more. Top 3 Vong for sure, not saying. Yeah, he does. He is... I don't know if he was mentioned, but I don't think he was mentioned by name.
No, he wasn't. This is his first appearance.
Yeah. So the priests were mentioned before, but Harar himself wasn't. And now is
and not that we got much about the priest before here. It's like
it was mostly just they exist, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We barely
know that they exist. I forgot more about Fate of the Jedi than Legacy of the Force.
Well, that's because one makes you angry and one is just boring.
Don't you remember that
agree.
80% of
Jedi
the
did
story
make me
take place on Coruscant? With all this political intrigue.
It's the Star Wars.
I'm trying to blot that out. Though I do remember reading the Jedi Academy trilogy back to back with a book that told me that Dala became chief of state, and I had nothing to say afterwards.
There is nothing to say afterwards, so I understand. There you go. But yeah, so Harar threatens this Gotal, and he very obviously does not seem afraid of his death, which Harar says is, he says that this is accepting that, what did he say, pain is the biggest crutch of life. So we're getting into edgy philosophy again, kind of. So, and
which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it has its place, and pain is the biggest crutch in life, and therefore death is salvation from that because you don't have to use the crutch anymore, I suppose. And he tells Harar that the final judgment has already been made. So he says that he is clearly convinced that they are going to win at some point. It's just going to be a matter of time, which is kind of cool that he can say that so confidently. And exactly, and this works well with Harar and his acolyte that he has by his side, recognizing that their enemy's conviction is something that is not to be underestimated. And it's nice because I assume that is in some way foreshadowing of the eventual downfall of the Vong. That basically like they have an indomitable spirit. I don't know, that can't be destroyed, and that's what's gonna help them survive in the end. I don't know. I assume this is in some ways setting up already their eventual loss, but of course we're still at the beginning here, so that's gonna take a while. But yeah, thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, imagine Fate of the Jedi. Just imagine it.
No.
Josh is gonna have so much fun when he gets to it this year.
You think he's actually gonna read it this year?
Probably not. He has to read it when you guys get to it.
Yes, that's gonna take a while.
You gotta enjoy Darkness and Legacy of the Force first.
There are too many loud people around me, so I won't be able to hear the stream. Hence, my next comments will just be in a. What an asshole! Yeah. Do that. So do whatever you feel like is comfortable for you. Chapter 2. So we have Luke and the Solo family attend the eulogy of Chewie on Kashyyyk, and after Han's pretty notable absence in Dark Tide, this of course is now the next logical thing to speak about. Like, he was absent, but the character has recognized that this is not a good thing that he's doing, and so now trying to take care of this is the correct idea. At least on getting him to.
He's recognizing his own flaws, but he's not sure how to approach it, so he's pushing it off for now.
Exactly, yeah.
Like a normal human.
Like a normal character that would act in understandable ways. Yeah.
I will say it is kind of weird that the eulogy took like 9 months. But
that is true.
I mean, the galaxy is kind of in turmoil, so I guess it kind of makes sense.
Also, doesn't the book state that the Wookiees don't give a fuck about death?
It's not so much that they don't give a fuck. It's I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, but it's like
they did need to get everyone together, and it's a bit hard for all the Jedi.
Yeah.
So I guess it made sense.
Yeah, I mean that they don't not give a fuck about it. Like in the Chewie comic, you could clearly see that some were upset about the death, obviously. So
shockingly, Chewie's wife was very upset.
Weird how that happens, right?
Yeah.
It's, almost like these characters are actually married, and that means something. Crazy.
Imagine.
Yeah. And yeah, we have 3PO observing everything, and he sees how Han is by far the most unaffected, kind of and he also seems the least approachable, which also makes sense. I mean, he is most affected by this death. Yeah, I guess he would be most. Maybe his wife also, but I think she is able to stomach this far more than Chewie was. I mean, he spent more time with Chewie than his own wife did, so there's that also. But yeah, 3PO actually kind of feels bad that there is nothing that he can really do for him, which was interesting. Like, not only that, because 3PO and Han are always fighting, but also that 3PO feels bad, quote unquote.
Feels it all.
Feels it all, yeah. This is gonna be brought up a few times, I think, in this book, was it?
Yes, it was this duology. And also a bit
I don't
at the
think
very
so. No,
end,
they were because Blackfleet did it, didn't it?
No, not that much.
I guess
the whole
made it
droids thing was meant to come up in Nightfall, but then since it didn't, it came up in Lucino books instead.
Oh,
so
I thought you were talking
mainly
about
got
Spirit's
it
comment
here.
here. Okay, never mind. My bad.
Oh no.
Okay.
That was Blackfleet. Yeah.
Yeah.
The droid thing was here, and I think there was even a bit in Unifying Force.
That's nice. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, and Han's grief caused him to think about pretty interesting stuff, which is that he asked himself, if he had the Force, would he be somebody who would follow the light or the dark side?
That was a big one.
That was weird, yeah, because you never have Han really speak about it in any way, and if he does, usually in like a unappreciative manner, let's describe it like that. But yeah, him just asking, like, if I had that power, what would I actually be? Would I be able to follow the light? Because he definitely has revenge fantasies, you can tell, but he also recognizes that they won't bring Chewie back at all, which is very true and also very adult of him. So almost like this character is actually smart. He just needs to grieve a bit. And yeah, Han gets gifted a bowcaster of Chewie, which was pretty nice, and other kinds of memorabilia. And he also gets informed that both Lowy and Lumpy, so from Young Jedi Knights, and Lumpy, his son, are actually supposed to follow him to Coruscant to continue Chewie's life debt. Because it seems that the life debt works that way, that only if both original partners, I guess, are dead, then the life debt is over. So now Chewie is dead, but Han isn't. So there's still a responsibility towards Han until, I suppose, he is dead.
I somehow doubt, of course, that would end when Han is dead.
It would make
the
very
family.
little sense, because like if that life debt goes on indefinitely, like wouldn't you at some point arrive at a moment where one Wookiee is like owing two different people a life debt, and these two people are fighting each other, like trying to kill each other? Because like if it never stops, right, then it's gonna spread more and more the people that
we can just assume that they are not trying to kill each other.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, we can assume that two beneficiaries are not trying to kill each other.
We can. It could also happen. But yeah, my assumption would be, okay, I think that's the most reasonable way you would make it stop. It's like, okay, if the original two contract partners, whatever, like are dead, then the life debt is over.
What I meant is it would officially end, but they wouldn't actually end it.
Yeah, of course.
They keep sustaining it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, yeah, out of friendship, nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see Lowy, for instance, as this like 200-year-old Wookiee still protecting Han's great grandchildren or something.
Lowy should have jumped in front of Jaina's lightsaber when she struck him down in Invincible.
I have nothing to say. Noah, question for you.
Yeah.
There you go. Here.
What else have
how
I
crucial the
forgotten?
life debt thing is later on. Oh yeah, it's very important. Basically, the entire Denningverse revolves around this question.
What?
Great.
Oh.
I can't wait to never find out about that.
Yeah, are you reading Wheel of Time instead of the Denningverse? That would be a great idea.
I might just not read anything afterwards. At least on Star Wars. I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, great. Go read Wheel of Time instead. Wonderful idea.
Yeah, sure. So Han tries to not disrespect Lowy and Lumpy in their desire to continue on the life debt, but he clearly doesn't want to. He is, he's referencing, what all the Wookiees that he's ever known have done for him, and like at some point it's supposed to be over. Like, it's okay. I don't want to anymore. And yeah, also yeah. Sorry.
Said I don't want it. Jon Snow.
But who's his queen?
She's my queen.
She's my queen. But yeah, but also to Han, Chewie is also still alive. He was his best friend, and there's nobody who can fill his spot right now, which is understandable, of course. That you can't just replace a character like Chewie.
It's like there's a theme here coming on.
Yeah, it's like this is actually a planned multi-book arc for Han.
You mean like during book 1, they kind of already knew where the journey was supposed to go, and they just reverse engineered their journey to that point?
Nah.
Imagine that.
Okay.
It's crazy, right? That is something.
Well, actually,
that
as we all know, Chewie was just meant to die because they couldn't kill off Luke, and
Yep.
they just went randomly from there, and they didn't care because they just wanted to kill somebody off for the emotional impact. And
obviously, a character that we're about to meet pretty soon is obviously just supposed to replace Chewie, and that's the whole point of the book. And
yes, Vulgari replaces Chewie.
that's Ghost, not Droma.
Is that something people actually say that Luke was supposed? Is that true?
No.
That Luke was supposed to die in Vector Prime?
Yes.
The original
They
idea. This was like when way. It was a very different series back when they pitched it.
This was back when these were like the actual Sith coming from another galaxy.
Oh,
and then George
and Anakin was
meant
to fall in love with one of them. Yeah, and then they went. George read it and then went, "No, the Sith aren't a civilization. They would destroy themselves. No, you can't kill Luke, but you can kill Han or Chewie."
And then I think he eventually changed his mind on Han, and they were like, "Okay, kill the dog."
Oh yeah, I remember.
I thought they were fine with killing Han, but
I think originally, and then they changed, but I could be wrong on that.
I was always under the impression that they just didn't want to kill Han, and they just wanted.
I agree with that statement. I think this is the
I agree. Which is hilarious because Harrison Ford disagrees.
Yeah, that's fine. Harrison
and has disagreed since Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford is also a weed smoking retard, so who cares?
He crashes planes.
Changed his mind.
Yeah, true.
Harrison Ford wanted an Indiana Jones 5. I have zero desire to hear what he thinks. So
yeah, pretty worthless what he thinks, probably. Sorry, but yeah, no, okay. I heard about the original pitch being rejected by George, and me being like, "Yeah, that pitch sounds horrible." Good on him. I respect George.
Yeah,
like go back.
He saved the series.
Yes, George did save New Jedi Order. If you think about it. Star Wars did really end with 2005, more or less. A few exceptions, of course, like Shadows of Mine.
We have Plagueis there,
we have Plagueis, and George did have input on that, so that makes sense. But everything else ended with Darkness.
Oh man!
See, the Japanese knew what they were doing.
Of course. Chapter 3. So, Harar finds out more about the Jedi, and yeah, it's interesting to see that the priests, or Harar especially, are far less extreme about the whole machine thing. They are still, of course, desiring to destroy them, but they are willing to use them for their own needs too. So there's definitely a deviation between them and how the warriors, let's say under Shadao Shai, believe the things about machines. And from the way that, so from the little info they have on the Order, it explains how they developed into, like, the info that they do have explains how they developed into servants of the galaxy and fighting for justice like the Jedi did. But now they only have sent a few. They assume that somebody at some point has decimated them because, well, the records that they found speak about large numbers of Jedi, I assume, and obviously there aren't a lot of Jedi around, and there are only a few being sent out and actively fighting the Vong. So they think like, okay, we suppose something happened in between, and possibly that they're enemies that and they think about, okay, this could be about the Sith too. And they wondered that if some Sith were still around, whether they might be an ally. Which, But thankfully no Sith are around anymore, right?
Yeah, that'd be cringe if the Sith were around somehow.
Yeah, imagine if, like, everything about Darth Vader's legacy was just garbage.
Yeah, imagine after the ultimate Sith Lords ruled the entire galaxy, there would still be Sith around out there, just waiting to strike. That would be so cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they were like related and the apprentices of those Supreme Sith Lords. Yes, they somehow found the time.
Yeah, that'd be cringe.
Priest. Hey, Blue Pig. Hello. They are indeed here. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Graham's been on a lot of streams, and Civet also, at least in the comments. So yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And we also meet a priestess called Elan and her companion named Virgia, who apparently has a mustache. So that was
Vergari.
Vergari
Yes,
or Verjay.
Vergari.
Vergari, we have Verjay. You know, we have a lot of
also,
variety.
you're misgendering Vergari. It's a he.
Yeah. Yes.
Of course, yeah. Mustache means he. It doesn't mean that the.
And it's
weird.
Gary. Gary is a male
weird
name,
verb.
and therefore it's a male.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Gary is a male name, so that is
Yep.
correct. But yeah. So and they observe a sacrifice ritual of a ship, like with droids going up in flames, and yeah, then Harar starts sharing the info that he has on the Jedi with her. Oh yeah, and during that talk, Elan squeezes Virgia's hand when the Jedi are mentioned, and to me it seemed to indicate that both of them, I mean, definitely Virgia, but it also seemed that Elan knew something about Virgia's former life, like in some way that there is a connection to the Jedi. And it also, I guess, seemed that she kind of seemed to care about her. I mean, that's not what Virgia believes, and that is probably the truth. But I guess it seemed weird to me, like, oh yeah, maybe she does think of her kind of as some friend. But yeah,
I think I'd care about my best slave, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if she's like very good at making coffee, then yeah, I would too. Canceling the divorce. The divorce is the proceedings are going on. Blue Pig, there's nothing we can do. I didn't expect him to. So yeah.
Spoilers for NJO. You
shouldn't. Of course, yeah. Blue Pig hasn't read any expanded universe, as we know. So why are you even here? Exactly. Oh man, yeah. And Nominor, who Virgia wants Elan about because he is very ambitious as a person, which we're also going to learn about more later, has some plan to use Mara's seeming resistance to the virus that he infected her with to defeat all of the Jedi. And yeah, we just know that is the very basic plan. Apparently, Elan is from the, quote, sect of Deceivers, whatever exactly that means. And yeah, the fact that she is from there is going to be useful for their plan to destroy all the Jedi. So my guess was like, okay, I guess they want to infiltrate them in some way and try to kill them. And yeah, then they decide to break everybody's spirit, like you usually do, and hope that. So they're trying to make worlds, or like make people see that other worlds are capitulating without a fight. And yeah, they also want to report back to, I guess, Supreme Leader or Supreme Commander Shimra. So we know the apparent big baddie is Shimra. There you go. Yeah, I guess it was interesting to see. I mean, I've heard the name Shimra. I've obviously heard the name Virgia. So it was interesting to see those.
For the record, you gave me PTSD when you said Supreme Leader.
Why?
Why?
He's more competent than Dala. He had more of a plan than Dala. So I've read. I'll press X on that. That's good. That sounds like
it's a bit hard to justify that one.
I have not.
I like Shadowhunter. It's a solid book.
Michael Reeves is a good author, at least from what I can tell from Matt Starr. So
Yeah, he was pretty good.
true. I agree with Sivat. Chapter 4. So yeah, Han definitely understands that if he flew the Falcon like down on Cernpedo the moment that the tragedy happened, he probably would have killed everybody in the ship, and that, of course, it isn't Anakin's fault, like that the things went down as they did, which is true, and it's good to have Han, quote unquote, on screen admitting to that, because yeah, I mean, other than the moment that it happened, there never was any assumption that Han thought this actually was Anakin's fault. Like, Anakin just kind of felt it, but it was actually never verbalized. And I think Han realized pretty early on that it wasn't his fault, but it's good to have him say it explicitly, like at least to himself. But yeah, Han has a very interesting way of thinking. So he thinks about what kind of life Chewie could have had if he never made him follow him around, and never made him smuggle spice or other stuff with him, which Leia immediately, like, so she's there, he's talking to her, and she immediately disputes these ruminations and tells him that they both had lots of fun together, and Chewie, if he never would have met Han, would have probably just died in an Imperial labor camp, which of course is also true. I mean, Han literally saved him, so that is correct. What do you mean probably not? Jesus. Read NJO instead. That also works.
Read good books.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. I have to say, like they read like literature. That is
like that was the point.
High literature,
almost like that was the point.
as
Yeah.
Slav would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's not like there aren't any deep literary themes and stuff like that.
Nah.
I wonder which book has all of these stuff.
It's what did you call it, Noah? Shitty lowbrow space opera fiction. That's
someone
for 12-year-olds.
Sure.
True. That's an important.
Speaking of which, I just ordered more of that shit. The translated Hungarian Han Solo novels.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta show pics as soon as you have them.
Yeah, thankfully it's the omnibus version, because buying all 4 of them separately would look nice, but also be too expensive for us Euro poors.
Yeah. Sad, but so is the way of it. Did you graduate yet? Your plan? I mean, I guess so. There you go. Yeah. Congratulations.
Do that.
Please do so. And make a live stream about it and share it everywhere. Yeah, so we have that. What Han also notices, and evidently doesn't like, is that he is already starting to forget Chewie. And he doesn't have the same full conversations with him in his mind that he had right after he died. And that's understandable too, because yeah, like at some point, no matter how much a person meant to you, like if you're not seeing them on a regular basis, you are bound to just forget how their face looks like, and forget the way they spoke. Like, it's not that fresh in your mind as if you just talk to them.
So that was a painful thing to read.
It is,
but
because you can relate
it was
to
very
it.
accurate. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is relatable.
I could relate to it, and so it was very painful to read.
Yep.
But props to Lucino, he really did that well.
Yeah,
it was one of the best things that I had read recently at the time that I read it.
Yeah, I understand, because everybody who is, in some ways, like, it doesn't even have to be somebody dying, but just, I don't know, moving away or something. Like, if you don't see a person, you're gonna forget about them. That's just how it works. So it's nice that it was talked about here, because yeah, in theory you could have easily left this out, but it shows that there's like actual thought put into this whole Chewie death scene, and it's one of the, I feel like, very few deaths so far that really, really matter. Like they have actual impact. Like, various books after the fact, so that's
Wheel
good.
of Time did that well.
Good.
I would assume good authors do that well. Yeah.
Yeah, you would, right? Everybody's gonna
Stover
be
did that well.
Yeah.
Blade of Tyshell has a particularly painful moment.
Yeah, it does.
Bit hard to forget.
To be, yeah, well, of course. You should invite him on your stream. Maybe you can have like a nice, objective discussion.
As
about
Alex admitted
Bounty
in a recent video, he doesn't think Bounty Hunter Wars is that bad, actually.
Well, there you go. So you're already off to an easier start, Blue Pig. Just gotta do it. So yeah, and we now get what Harar's plan for the Jedi is. He has access to some insects that are called botus, or
Botus, I think. That's how I pronounced it.
Yep, BU''TOUS, butos. I don't know, whatever.
Maybe it's like French, like bouteur or something.
Yeah, butu, I guess. The butu. Yeah, we'll call them
But
that.
when in doubt, let's just assume it's
French.
bad French. Yeah, let's go with that.
And yeah, so these insects can be breathed out of like by a host body, and then kill everybody in the room who is, taking a breath, which could happen to the host too. So if the host breathes out these insects and then takes the breath himself, he's also gonna die. And we just learned that fact. Now thinking back to it, we just learned that fact, so that's interesting. And yeah, so Harar's plan how to get her in a position where Elaine could use these insects is to have the Vong lose a battle on purpose, and then have Elaine try to get political asylum in the New Republic. So she's going to act as though she's escaping the Vong. She is supposed to make it sound like a good trade-off to take her in. Offering info about the background of the Vong, about their motivations, and some stories about supposed infighting that she is escaping from, which sounds like a smart attempt to subvert your enemies. Yeah, we have also Nomenor gaslighting you into thinking that the Jedi and New Republic intelligence are actual credible threats who could seriously threaten the success of the operation. So that's interesting. We're gonna have that theme a lot here, where Lucino tries to make you believe that everybody's more competent than they actually than you know that they are. If you've actually read every book, it's much appreciated. So yeah, Elaine takes Virgia's advice seriously. She tells her that she probably shouldn't do it, shouldn't go along with that plan. But it's the only way for her to rise in the ranks, so she essentially kind of has no choice if those are her goals. She will do it, and Virgia will even accompany her, which was interesting to know, and I was like, that's going to be nice to see how that turns out. And Han chooses to leave Kashyyyk early, and he gets into a fight with Luke over Luke's constant mentions of the Force. Where Han just kind of snapped and said, I don't have the Force on my side. And I don't have a delete function like a droid would have. Like, I have these memories now. Yeah, and he also mentions specifically that he can't see Chewie the way that Luke is able to see Obi-Wan, Yoda, or his dad. So that was kind of meaningful because, yeah, Han definitely thinks a lot more about the Force now, but also in its, to him, negative connotations. The fact that Luke has this advantage and can see the people that meant a lot to him, who were Force sensitive themselves. He doesn't have that for Chewie, and of course that makes him kind of bitter. And we have Nomenor and Harar both know that she will choose to die with the Jedi as the bait. So Elan will probably choose to die, and that the New Republic won't give her a possibility to live. So they're kind of assuming that she's gonna be killed during this mission. And that's an interesting setup already, because once again you have like Vong actually actively fighting each other as the campaign goes on. So I just like that. I think it gives you, if it's done well, it gives you so many more opportunities to like have very layered storytelling. Like, oh, there's all these subsections that all fight their own battles. So that's interesting. Who is smashing his keyboard? Is that you, Noah?
Whoops. Sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Noah. How dare you? I was about to fall asleep from this boring book, and now you ruined it.
Has anything happened so far?
No, it's just shit, It's boring. Yeah. Nothing's happening. It's I honestly want to quit NJO right now. Yeah, there you go. The book is good, but Lucy.
Did you mention that he calls it Metal School?
Metal School. Yeah.
Metal Leute.
Shout out to biggest German lol cow. But Lucino missed an opportunity to make the insects Kilix. Can you imagine?
Oh, I don't want to spoil it, but there is something coming up in NJO regarding the.
So.
Yeah, something.
Stars on the horizon. I would assume so.
Funnily enough, Troy was actually not allowed to put the Kilix in Star by Star.
Nice. That
he tried.
Yeah. I'm sure there would. Didn't Doogie like make these things where he puts like novels in an AI and said like rewrite this book as if other.
Oh yeah, he did that with my indie chronology.
Yeah, he should do that for the entire NJO and make like a Denning edit.
No, yeah, that's what we said. We need NJO if it was written by Kevin J. Anderson.
I want it, but Barbara Hambly.
Oh yeah, that's what he's doing. He put Barbara Hambly's Children of the Jedi into an AI thing and wrote like rewrite it in the style of a human being, like make it readable.
And it worked. I mean, the story's still shit. It's Children of the Jedi. Nothing.
Yeah, but you can read it and then you realize it's shit. Instead of pretending to be like this poetic language, it's like, oh.
I think he did that, and the finished book wasn't even half as long because it just cut out all of Barbara's useless writing.
It's as I said, it's like when in school you have to hand over an essay and you're like, I don't have enough things to write 1,000 words about, so you just fill in words that mean nothing. They're just supposed to get your word count up. Yeah.
And then she writes the greatest English stuff I've ever. Like, the asteroids crash together like two drunken ex-fiancés at a party.
It's so oddly specific. It's not that you can't, in theory, understand what it's supposed to mean. It's so oddly specific that I'm like, who hurt you, Barb? Seriously. Yeah, but New Jedi Order, Denning's cut sounds like something funny. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. How dare he?
Write the unifying force in the style of Troy Denning.
Who's gonna match Noah's freak? Nobody. I guess that's for you to decide, Noah, if you can match your freaks.
I don't even know what that means.
He's talking in TikTok language. Ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know either.
Goddamn kids today with their goddamn TikToks.
Stupid internet. I'm not going to.
You should.
Sad. But there's some. I don't want to spoil it, but there's something. That's a way to say that, yeah. Match our tisms. That I understand tism, but still. Yeah, that seems like something that would happen. Yes, that Douglas is Doogie, indeed. So, yeah, exactly. That was that. Chapter 5. So Han actually stayed behind on Kashyyyk after all, and Luke, Jason, and Anakin are left behind on Yavin 4, so they're dropped off there. And Jaina accompanies Leia to Coruscant, since she didn't want to fly the Falcon entirely alone, so they went together. On that flight, Leia shares with Jaina how Han's past, like his upbringing or the jobs that he took forced a certain kind of distance between him and others. That's just kind of the environment that he grew up in. And while he knows that others cared about Chewie and that the Force isn't bullshit like he always seemed to claim, he's just too closed off to properly share like his feelings with others. That's just how he was raised. So yeah, we know that from the other good books, like especially Gracie Crispin's trilogy, like how he grew up. So that's entirely congruent. We get to see more conflict within the New Republic. So Beldar Nolek, who's from Obroa Sky, accuses the New Republic of barely defending and essentially sacrificing Obroa Sky to the Vong, telling them that, quote, New Republic troops are tied up elsewhere. Like that's what they tell him as an official reason why they can't help him. And he said that, yeah, that would never happen if Chandrila, Botha-Wui, or Kuat were attacked, which of course is correct. Like that's the very specific tactic of the New Republic right now. So yeah,
unfair. They should leave Botha-Wui to the Vong.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure if it's gonna happen. I just know that they've been threatened all this time, and I can't wait. If it actually happens, I can't wait for it to happen. I want it so much. Oh yeah, Greyholm, you went here for that. On the server, we went like in voice chat. We just opened a map of the expanded universe, like of Star Wars, and I just like went through all the planets and decided whether I wanted them to be conquered by the Vong, and I found that a shocking number of planets were like, yeah, you know what, you can go, like Kessel, Mandalore, hey peace, like yeah, bye-bye. I can't pretend to care that much.
No comment.
And Botha-Wui obviously was amongst them.
That one I can understand.
Yeah, Kreffe gets to survive.
As long as Kreffe is not there, of course, yes.
Yeah. He's the one based. The one based Bothan.
Well, Asio from X-Wing wasn't that bad either.
True, but
she's possibly already dead anyway, so.
Yeah.
Actually, I think even Hand of Thrawn 45 tried to fix that.
Sounds like something I'm not going to read.
At some point. Yeah, it's not that good.
And Vicky Shesh, who is the senator of Kuat, she counters that the New Republic did in fact defend Ethor, but that obviously didn't help either, and that there is nothing that they seem to be able to do really. Which, yeah, I guess you can kind of understand that. And yeah, Beldar Nolek now actually wants to negotiate with the Vong to let academics still access Obroa Sky. And since the New Republic is like on purpose not doing anything, he will want to negotiate their own peace with the Vong, which is that's definitely understandable. And you will see more, especially in this duology, more planets trying to do their own thing, because they're like, you don't do anything. Like, we can't just roll over and accept death because you don't want to defend us. Like, eventually we'll have our own negotiations. We'll have our own tactics, because
short negotiations.
Short.
They effectively left the New Republic.
Yeah, which sorry, that's what happens if you don't defend them. If you maybe even betray them, yeah, they're gonna do their own thing, and you are kind of responsible for that.
If you think about it, the New Republic was like the Weimar government.
Oh yeah, I mentioned so many times like that the New Republic was having like peak Weimar moments throughout, especially throughout the duology. It was like, yeah, I'm just waiting for the eventual like rearrangement of power. Let's call it
rearrangement.
I mean, what can I say? Like, it's that is exactly what I thought. So that observation is spot on. Yeah. Wait. It's insane when you realize that Noah is more than twice the age of proving. Exactly. Noah is like an 80-year-old man already, and poor Blue Pig, he's still a youngster. I guess there's things happening here. Noah's like 6 or 7 years older than me. Oh, wait, Noah, you're 25 now, right?
Yep.
Jesus. Yes, there you go. That's right, more than twice your age. Good news, I'm finally gonna finish the Crispin trilogy. Hey, that's good. I just gotta finish Kant first, just for 1400 pages.
Oh, you asshole. You know you also gotta finish the rest of the Ian Fleming James Bond novels? Since now you're gonna have You Only Live Twice soon. But yeah.
I'm sure that's gonna happen, yeah.
Which Kant book are you reading?
All of them.
All of them. That's why 1400 pages.
Yeah, he just said he's gonna finish Kant, so he's gonna finish everything.
He's just gonna finish the author Kant.
That's
amazing. I just want to point out that every system that leaves the New Republic is breaching international law. Make of that what you wish. Yeah, international law is actually worthless. That's what I make of it.
If it's New Republic law, I see no issue.
Well,
yeah,
no international law has ever really been that effective.
They're more like guidelines.
International law.
Imagine a world in which the Geneva Conventions were followed, let alone about everything else.
No,
international law is like international law to me is like pacifism. It's like a very, very good ideology for peace times. But yeah, if you get like literally backstabbed by your allies, then you're not gonna care about it.
See, the problem with peace is that it involves both parties.
Yeah.
So
weird how that. I agree. Which is not a lot, yeah. So, Belda Nolek, then he also accuses the Jedi of being at fault. He's possibly misrepresenting how the Vong conflict started to save their own skin and why they can just act like the Jedi can just act how they want to with no way of others to control them. Which, yeah, that's who they are. He is obviously wrong, but I mean, people are notoriously wrong about Jedi, so that's how it happens. But
even Star Wars authors are notoriously wrong about Jedi.
Yeah, crazy. You wouldn't assume that happened, but it
I
does.
would.
You wouldn't, but
you can if you see the author list. Definitely, yeah. Like, without that knowledge, you would be like, why wouldn't they know it?
It's almost like some of them are acolyte tier authors.
The Acolyte is a masterpiece. You take that back. I saw Plagueis the other day. He's in a cave.
He was there. Yeah.
I'm the Clume.
Yeah. That is an EU level reference.
It must have come from our Lord and Savior Dave Filoni, because as we all know, he's read all the EU and loves the EU because he's such a huge Star Wars fan.
I don't believe he's read his own, like he's watched his own show.
No. Why would he? Like, he makes too much bank to care about that. No, yeah, that Plagueis appearance and Acolyte, that was an EU level reference, I gotta say. Like, really
deep. Is it deep cut?
I would even say that it's a Kevin level reference.
True, that's true. But yeah, he says like, well, they are only trying to save their own skin, and the Jedi are, well, not accountable to anybody. And you can what you can do is you can see how somebody in his position would come to these conclusions. That's still kind of the thing that, like, even those characters that kind of annoy you, maybe, unless, like, taking out maybe Vicky Shesh and Borsk Phalia, like, you can see how the others come to the conclusions they come to, even if you disagree totally with them.
Lucino's always been great at doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's what makes all his political intrigue stuff so good. If
you think about it, this current Jedi Order was basically like propped up by the New Republic and Jedi Search.
Yeah,
so they're kind of funded by them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but like
it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but
that's what's given.
Imagine
everyone
Jedi
clapped.
Search making any sense.
Yeah. Luke went up to them and said, "I'm going to make a new Jedi Order," and then everyone clapped. So got to go with it.
I mean,
I guess, but it's still like 40 years before he should have been born, but that's fine.
Who cares about time, really? I think Sandhill looks cooler, but that's just me. If Noah's giving me You Only Live Twice, I'm giving Jamie Nix my 600-page book on international law that I have to read for my exams.
He's just trying to get out exams.
Like, I will never pretend that international law is something I'm going to read even 50 pages about, let alone 600. But good luck on your exams for that. That sounds...
That's true.
That is true. I mean, continuity is whatever you make of it. And that's always been... that's always been kind of the motto. So, there you go. They were kids. Yeah, indeed. So, yeah. And that's, that moment when he says that is when both Vicky and even Borsk try to call for unity, I guess, especially Vicky, who has apparently become very popular as a senator, even more so than Borsk, it seems, which, to be honest, isn't a big achievement. But
Vicky's hot, apparently.
Yeah.
As stated in the next book, I think.
She's a quatty, and as we all know, they definitely all conform to a stereotype.
Yeah, James Luceno had a Hutt be his POV and describe what that Hutt, who is a descendant of Jabba, would do to Vicky Shesh, and that was very interesting to read about.
That was truly a moment of all time.
Yeah, it proves that Luceno also has
is down bad.
He likes his stuff. Yeah, I don't know if it's in this book though or the next one.
I think it's the next one.
Might be.
Yeah, I think it is.
Because it's the one with the Hutts. So,
and also this one has almost nothing that's, not Han.
Yeah, true. But yeah, and yeah, they also say, hey, Beldar Noleg is neither a politician or a military strategist. So, like, who are you? Basically, they're telling him. And that by weakening the Jedi, they weaken themselves, which is true, but they are still doing that anyway. But that is apparently a position that somebody in the New Republic can have, which is crazy to me. I mean, I didn't know that was possible, but it is. Chapter 6. So, Luke now arrives on Coruscant. He was called to Yavin 4 previously because now that Obroa Sky was attacked, the Vong might actually find and attack Yavin 4, which kind of, like, I kind of had a question mark there because I wondered, like, the Praxium's location is not secret. Like, it is public that he opened the Praxium on Yavin 4, and I don't know if Yavin 4, if the location of the planet or of the moon would be secret, but I don't know why it would.
It's not that secret, no.
It's not that secret, so I did wonder why he now specifically cared about that. Like, they were a possible target from the beginning, but
it's also to do with the Yuzhen Vong's vector because they were going a certain way.
Exactly, that's true. Yeah,
and they had this whole invasion route planned, so it kind of made sense. It's like the Dantooine thing in Dark Tide. They knew where the Vong could possibly go.
Yeah. And they do specifically speak about bringing the youngsters that are on Yavin 4 to safety. They don't do it though, and they probably just should. I mean, sure, the galaxy isn't safe anymore, but there is more safe planets than Yavin 4, so maybe just do it now. Like, we might as well.
Well, then again, there are also more risks in about every other planet because they won't be able to trust anyone except the people who are already on Yavin 4.
I guess so. Yeah, but
and we've seen Vong sleeper agents and whatnot, so I think it was fine to leave them on Yavin 4 until now.
No, it's not amongst higher class, but I don't think the average Joe knows about the Jedi Academy. It's accessible. Like, they announced the Praxium to the whole Senate, which was definitely a public hearing.
And so, I mean, people who want to become a Jedi would go to Yavin 4.
Yeah,
it's not like they show up in Coruscant and say, I want to become a Jedi, where do I sign up?
Yeah, like, you will eventually have to. Yeah, but even then, I don't think there's any reason to believe that Yavin 4 isn't public knowledge, because it was announced to the public. So, yeah. Continuity can fuck off if that is the only substance of your novel. Yeah, continuity in itself isn't. Also, continuity isn't. Remember this book. That's not continuity. That's like the base level of what everybody should do. That's not something you like. You want an award for just mentioning another book. That doesn't mean anything. But yeah, yeah, I do like that Lucino mentions that Luke and Mara specifically have a very meaningful relationship in the Force, and apparently her illness seems to continuously develop based on the outcome of the battles that she participates in, which is interesting. And I assumed, okay, that maybe we'll get some kind of further explanation, but that's just kind of the feeling that she got. Like every time we lose a battle, like I feel significantly worse. So that's interesting. Yeah, like I don't see. It's like, I don't know. Imagine like in 1965, nobody would know where Stalingrad is. Like, what do you mean? Like, everybody knows where that is. It's a very specific place. Planet has got some heavy historical meaning for the government. Yeah. And as I said, it was announced to the entire government where that was. So there's no way in hell not everybody does know. There's your answer, Grail. Man.
Have fun.
I'm sure he will. He likes his philosophy. That's why he's going to read Crucible the moment that he starts reading the EU again. Yeah.
As we all know, Crucible is clearly the most philosophy-heavy EU book.
Of course, yeah. Definitely. Oldest joke in the book. Yeah. Luke recounts a discussion that he had with Mon Mothma, how the Jedi should become influential in all aspects of life. And he also thinks back to Jason's words again, that the Jedi...
Oh, wait, it's a New Rebellion reference.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that conversation mattered, I guess. I mean, we also have Mon Mothma's discussion with Luke about... No, it wasn't New Rebellion. I think it was Assault on Corellia.
I thought that's the one where he oh, sorry, I'm thinking...
Or Attack on Corellia. Yeah.
It's that one, yeah.
That's where she also told him, though, to learn politics and have a family.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
But I mean, he's getting going with the family part, I guess, now finally. But the learning politics, I guess he also kind of did that. So
he did, yeah, he did.
I suppose that wasn't entirely meaningless. At least we pretend as though it isn't. So that's good. Yeah. And he, as I said, he thinks back to Jason's words that, about how the Jedi have focused too much on the fighting aspect of their existence and too little on the unifying aspects of the Force. That's how it's described. And Luke also laments that if he focused more on other aspects, he would know better which way to go right now, which is all very believable for him. I mean, there was that discussion that they had previously already, that at the time where Luke became a Jedi, they didn't need anybody to really think about these things. They needed a fighter. That was what they needed at the moment, and that's why Luke turned out the way he did. So yeah, totally believable. And then we see, Gref of the Soothfast, and he has a battle against the Vong, which he wins relatively easily. And that's all according to the Vong's plan, since they find the escape capsule with Elan and Virgia there. So they're now in the hands of the New Republic. Chapter 7. So Han arrives on Coruscant now and enters the Falcon, and he's just reminiscing about its history. And it's his baby, like, so much that he actually thinks about Mara sacrificing the Jade's fire on Nirowan and how he could never understand how she would be able to do that, because we know that Mara's ship meant a lot to her too, like being a symbol of her independence. And Han's, I mean, definitely the Millennium Falcon probably means a lot more to Han because it's been in his possession for far longer. So he's like, I could never do something like that. I mean, he probably would be able to do it if that was actually what the situation needed. But yeah, now thinking about it, he has no understanding for that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they would like that. That was what they learned about Luke Skywalker first. He's a fighter, and he's fighting with us. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting when I reread Mindo eventually.
It's gonna be great.
I'm sure. I hope so.
That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. Yeah. He also thinks about how the Falcon has lost a lot of its edge, quote unquote, since the peace treaty.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess at some point he just wasn't. He didn't need that much stuff on his Falcon anymore. But of course, he thinks that the biggest loss that the Falcon has suffered is Chewie. And that's when Han gets a visit by an old friend named Roa, who we know, and he tells him that someone they know, who's called Rek Dash, joined a Vong-aligned mercenary group called Peace Brigade, which was present on the planet that Lewil, so one of their friends and apparently Roa's girlfriend, wife, I guess even, died on. So they were present on the planet that she died on. She was also a friend of Han, and now, of course, they're gonna take revenge.
They were from the Daily Trilogy, weren't they? I vaguely remember.
Roa, yeah, like the names ring a bell. I think I remember Roa.
I'm pretty sure they were there.
Yeah, which makes sense, yeah. Because that's going to be the book here where that's going to happen a lot. And Han accepts the offer to join Roa and find Rekdash. And since he thinks that the Falcon is more useful for escape and less so for an actual attack, and it's also a, quote, ghost ship now, because Chewie isn't in there anymore, they take Roa's ship instead. Yeah, indeed. Chapter 8. So we get a presentation by Isidro Legoburu, who is a secret agent.
We get a presentation by Jesus?
Isidro Legoburu. That's
Jesus Lego.
Jesus Lego, exactly. We'll
a
call
Lego
him that.
figure of Jesus, okay.
It's Isildur Lego. And he's a secret agent of the New Republic, apparently. And he has a presentation about the Vong. So they investigated the possibility that the Vong come from the central Tingle arm. So they're trying to think about their origins. And they also thought about 3PO's claims that he knows their language and he assumes that their language is connected to another extinct language. But to them, both possibilities seem very unlikely, or they're not able to be investigated any further. There even is the interesting thesis that they at some point migrated out of the Star Wars galaxy, essentially, and now are returning. And
which, as we know, is in Supernatural Encounters.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
In this part here, he also says, but the leading theory is that they are from outside the galaxy.
Yeah. But that theory, I guess, it would at least make sense then why 3PO would understand their language and also why they are humanoids. I mean,
yeah, I don't remember that actually ever getting resolved.
I guess I'll see.
It's resolved in that chapter.
Yeah,
they say that it's They directly say that it's outside the galaxy. That the current leading theory is.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. So they're just summarizing that piece of information for now, and Yeah, and since Palpatine left this area that they thought about to the corporate sector, and since he also sent out Thrawn to the unknown regions, and the Chiss defended themselves, and since he knew about the Siruk, they have asked from the Empire to access the data from the Outbound Flight project to see whether there's any possible information about the Vong. All understandable and logical. So, yeah, it's like, well, now that the Empire is actually kind of at peace and actually allied with us in a way, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should try to access all the info that there is. We get a presentation by Jesus Lego. Yeah, exactly. See connection, right? I suppose so. Using Vong scouts could have just influenced a tribal race too, I guess, maybe. Yeah, that could be it. I guess we'll have to see whether I don't know if the Vong are going to explicitly ever explain where they are from, and maybe it's not necessarily that important either. But I guess I'll have to be patient and read. Yeah, we get a summary of their military strength, which obviously shocks everybody because it's so vast, and that the current way seems to get them just a bit away from Hapis and Kashyyyk and more towards Rhodia, Rylith, the Hutt space, the Meridian sector, and Bothawui. And yeah, I did say at this point that I do wonder if the Hutts will play a part in this, on the side of on the side of the galaxy, quote unquote, the New Republic. It would kind of be interesting to see, and we are going to see the Hutts be involved in some way, so we'll wait for that. Then Dr. Joy Akroth summarizes their physiognomy, whatever that word is pronounced. It's a tough Anglo word. That they are evidently humanoids inside and out. It's observable from the fact that neither the Uglith nor Gnolith mask hurt Luke, as he used it. So it's like, okay, they are similar in some ways. The difference in certain body parts indicates that there's different species or ancestries within the Yuuzhan Vong, because they also look different within their army. Their deep carvings indicate some complex religious hierarchies, and that's all logical so far. I mean, that's all the info that we have already, and also adding a bit more to that. And I actually love this analytical summary of essentially where are we at this point? Like, what have we learned about the Vong up until this point, as like put into one chapter, kind of like to give you an overview, an outline of what happened so far.
I think New Jedi Order did an especially good job of blending the military sci-fi thing that a lot of the Bantam authors tried to go for with the classic space opera fantasy kind of thing that Star Wars always was.
It's almost as if this series was planned out.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they watched the movies a lot to plan for it.
And try to actually write something in the spirit of that, and something that's also good.
Imagine.
It takes just a few chapters of Lucino to prove that he's infinitely better at writing politics than Stackpole. The thing is, both Lucino and Stackpole have to operate from a base that basically all New Republic politicians are absolutely retarded. So I don't think if that's fair necessary to Stackpole. I mean, Lucino's politicians also act horribly because they are New Republic politicians, and that's their job. They have to be shit. So I wouldn't say Stackpole is bad at it. Mostly because Lucino isn't focusing on how the military is awesome, even if they are. I mean, Stackpole had a point. Jack Fell was much better than every other politician present during.
Jack Fell is basically the Giga Chad human of New Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Creefei, of course, being the Giga Chad non-human.
Exactly. And Elegos, but things happened. I would argue that it was because
but Elegos wasn't a new character in New Jedi Order, so he was just
true.
again, He was just a Bantam one, like Ton Vannon was.
Yeah. I would argue the reverse because Bantam has zero military sci-fi logic. I would cut the military sci-fi. I would say Bantam has zero logic, but I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but Bantam tried to be military sci-fi. It failed.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Some
That's just-
authors
no,
really
no,
tried though.
No.
Zahn tried.
Oh,
No, that's not military sci-fi.
I guess there's a
You thought
distinction
it
to be
was.
made of military sci-fi and sci-fi where there is military in there, because I
That's
assume
it. Yeah.
not every sci-fi where there is a like which has a present military is necessarily military sci-fi. I assume.
I suppose that's fair. Yeah.
I haven't thought about these terms too deeply, to be honest. I am barely able to manage to find out what's shit and what's not, so kind of I kind of always stuck to that. Things actually make sense. That is true. That is a very NJO thing to do. It's not that common. It's
There's a
Yeah,
logical
John,
progression.
Alton.
You can actually see the advancement of the war,
yep.
chapter
Tactics,
to chapter.
exactly. You see, like the New Republic make progress from battle to battle. Really, like they learn new things every battle.
That's true. Yeah.
They don't
can
just
really read
hyperspace into Yavin with the entire
Mhm.
fleet of Star Destroyers and then get sent across the solar system somehow.
But it was the power of friendship.
True. The
And
power of
somebody
friendship
died.
is so strong, and then someone died, so it's okay. So it's okay that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, as someone asks what precisely the Vong even want from them, Director Scour leaves them a message about the political asylum requested by Elen and Vachia. So that's just kind of the transition to that topic. Yeah. I love that chapter, and I think I wrote that down. I think those summary chapters on occasion are pretty important, just to like, you don't really miss anything because everything is clearly spelled out to you, but just every couple of once every few books, maybe you have that summary of like, okay, this is the status quo right now. This is all the info we have, the theories we have, and the battles that we're fighting. And I think that's pretty useful and well written too. Chapter 9. So,
All right, I will now head off.
all right.
Make like a train, get the fuck out of here.
Time for me to sleep. Yeah.
It is midnight after
Been
all.
a long week. Yeah, almost midnight.
Yeah.
Long week. So this has been pretty fun. Hopefully, you take longer between the next two because I want to reach the unifying force.
Yeah. We might honestly take a bit before the next one, but we'll have to see. I can't say for sure. It's a very spontaneous decision at this point because things happen. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for staying for this long, and have a good night. See ya.
All right. See you.
Bye bye. Wait, was that some Denningverse thing? I think so, right? Noah?
I'm trying to remember.
I feel like there was something where every chapter was a summary of the previous chapter. I think like one of the Bantam books was that too, but I don't know if it was.
Yeah, I have that feeling. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, that sounds like shit. I would rather not. Yeah. So chapter 9, Leia will go on a charity journey to Ord Mantell, and she's also trying to disprove the notion that the New Republic could and would want to annex hundreds of worlds and systems after they repel the Vong, because that's apparently a theory that people have, which that's a theory of all time, I suppose. Han announces, without really going into detail, his own departure, and Leia tells him that he needs to comfort and speak to Anakin, since he tells him that he isn't mad, but he non-verbally seems to show him that that's not correct. Han gets mad about Luke's wording, about Luke's words again, saying that he told him, quote, "At one point the Force will cause you not being able to keep up with them anymore," like with Han not being able to keep up with the kids. And Han now brings these words back to him and tells him, yeah, well, that happened now, which of course is not a fully correct representation of what Luke meant with those words, but now he's throwing these words back at his face because, yeah, Han can't relate to the Force ever. So it's kind of causing him some grief, and also to not have the possibilities that Luke has to save others, probably, and also to communicate to the dead. Yeah, as he mentioned before. Leia tells him that Leia tells him that he needs love and support, which is something that the Force can't give him, and that's just the way it is. Like the Force wouldn't have changed anything about that. He actually just needs something that he's not really willing to accept, at least all the time. Yeah, and meanwhile, two New Republic agents meet on Nim Drovis, called Showalter and Seychell. They use secret codes to communicate, which is crazy to me. They can do that. They even have implants to confirm their identity. And it's like, yeah, cool. Like the meme that I always make fun of. Like Lucino actually turned that into something that makes sense. Hey, agents like use codes and like costumes and all these things that normal agents would do, like that even you as a normal person could figure out with common sense.
Are those the titular agents of chaos?
Oh yeah, I guess maybe those are. Maybe the agents of chaos are the friends we made along the way. I guess you could argue that every chapter in JAT was a summary of the original trilogy. Every JAT chapter was a summary of itself.
Remember, the 2 chapters with the Solo kids getting lost in the zoo and meeting the Garbage King, which didn't serve a purpose, was never referenced again, but it was like 50 pages.
I wish Stover would write a Garbage King book.
Yeah.
Maybe Stackpole could have written this into iJedi and retconned it into something good.
Who knows who could? Yeah, I was like, it's good to know that random strangers in the lower levels of Coruscant have access to literally, like, the prince and the princess of the New Republic. That's a very good sign. Oh well, yeah, and exactly, and it's hilarious that immediately when Showalter meets Alen, he thinks that she's attractive. There you go. Even Seychell agrees to that, and he wonders immediately whether being a priestess means that she's celibate too. Which, yeah, Lucino, he has some ideas, I suppose. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that Seychell, who tells them of their desire to meet the Jedi, so of Alan's and Vajia's desire to meet the Jedi, and give them info about the spore virus that Mara has. Immediately, she assumes that it's obviously a trap, which is a good sign already. That's good. Showalter agrees, but he also realizes that it might be their only chance to ever speak to one of them. So they're gonna risk it, which also makes sense. Before Han and Roa are flying away, they immediately get intercepted by Anakin, who gifts Han a tool case that Chewie made for him, for Anakin originally. Han doesn't want to accept it, but recognizes that it's a peace offering between them, and that refusing to take the tool case would just make the rift between them even bigger, so he accepts it. He kind of stiffly hugs Anakin goodbye and tells him that everything will be okay. And Anakin asks back, almost teary-eyed, whether he means that the war will be okay, his feelings of guilt, or that he's just leaving without telling anybody where he's going. Like, what exactly is going to get better of those things? And Han doesn't really have an answer to that, and then he departs. So that was
the answer is all of it. That's
yeah.
see, it's
all,
like
of course,
smart writing. You know, those authors do that thing.
authors
Like
do a
multiple
thing
meetings and
yeah, where they have a point and they're like bringing that point home. And that's like, yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah. Our boy Lucino, man, oh man, I missed his writing. The last Lucino book I read was Dark Lord: Rise of Darth Vader. That feels like ages ago. Thank Christ, he's back again. Stover could have brought back the Garbage King and trade.
He should have. He absolutely should have.
Maybe the Garbage King actually was the traitor. Was he the titular traitor? Who knows? Isn't it hypocritical how everyone complains about Danon being a perv when Lucino was the first one to mention Vong's sex?
That's big.
Well, the thing is, Lucino does a few good things. First of all, it's all original characters, so nobody cares. That's always helpful. That's why I didn't care about Gavin and Asia, because it's original characters. So yeah, I guess he's a furry now. That's how it is. Denning and other of his of his mindset rather would use established main characters to force their weird shipping onto them. So
listen,
yeah.
It was very important and plot relevant to learn that when your female servants see you naked, you can either rape them or kill them. Okay? That was very important for the plot.
It's true.
Good to know.
That's just what happens when your secretary walks in on you in the bathtub. You order her, go to my bedroom, get ready. I'm gonna finish my War Master duties, and then yeah.
That changes a lot in Destiny's way.
Okay. Good to know. Chapter 10. So, the Vong know that Elan was brought to Wayland, since the New Republic chose to leave Elan with her Villip, and it's been reporting back to its partner Villip, which is still with the Vong. That kind of seemed really dumb to me, especially since the New Republic knows what Villips are, at least the Jedi do. So somebody of the military would. I don't know why they would keep it, and I just hope that maybe it's a trap of some sort placed by the New Republic. I think it didn't turn out this way, and that Villip was just kind of forgotten about because it served no further purpose. But yeah. Also Harar was warned by Commander Tla that they shouldn't underestimate their enemy. So still, I like that foreshadowing of they are very strong. We are kind of steamrolling them right now, but they're not to be underestimated still. I just kind of like that. The spies of the New Republic have separated Elan from Vigia, which also makes sense. Well, why would you keep them together? She makes up her story about Vong, thinking their gods don't want this conflict that they have right now, which I assume might actually be true. Like, I'm sure there's some Vong who don't think that this war is justified, either by their religion or maybe they don't believe in their own religion at all. But of course, they know that she is a spy. Like, they immediately assume that, or at least, or at least they say so that they believe that, because the enemy ship. They recognize that the enemy ship was destroyed far too easily, and there was a bigger one close to them, which could have intervened if the Vong just wanted to, and they didn't. So, like, yeah, that's definitely a trap in some way. Of course, the Vong gonna try continuously to dispel the notion, but it's gonna be kind of weakened, but it never fully goes away. Yeah, I mean, they're not exactly trustworthy, so why would it? Yeah, as she Elaine even tries to counter that, like the bigger Vong ship that is present. And she tries to say that the smaller one was better armed as a counter ship, which is really all that she can say. Other than she's kind of being provocative, like she's provoking others, not that kind of provocative. So yeah, she's kind of being angry, but she's trying, I guess, to make them believe that all of this is actually totally legit. They want her to give them something that they can verify, which would make them believe her more. Before they would even theoretically think about a meet-up set up between her and the Jedi, which also makes sense. Of course, you're not just gonna hand her over to the Jedi. And yeah, as part of the plan to make her seem more believable, they actually send out a Vong assassin to Wayland to supposedly kill her. And also there's an entire fleet going to Wayland to once again have a fake attack. Yeah, there you go. I was just kind of confused by that Villip, where that came from, and especially where it went. I guess it wasn't important anymore, but that was weird to me. Like, why would they leave it with her if they already know what Villips are? I mean, they do. They've seen one on Dubrillion. They've seen one on Ethor too. So I was just kind of confused with that.
It's really just building on established lore at that point.
I mean, if it's only Vong on Vong rape, I'm like, okay, no humans were hurt in the writing of this scene, and then I find it hard to care. But it's very stupid. The fun thing is that the Vong. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that scene at Savong La, or as we know he's called Tessavong Long La, is kind of like the Darth Vader of the series, and then you just randomly get a scene of the kind of big bad guy in the bathtub ordering his secretary to get ready in the bedroom because she saw him naked on accident. It's weird and doesn't fit.
Yeah. They didn't need that to seem more evil. Like,
imagine
some characters...
the scene in Empire Strikes Back when the guy walks in on Vader getting his helmet put on, and Vader is like, "Get in my bedroom, get ready,
get on your knees right now. This is happening."
Prepare. So, some villains don't need that. It's out of character for some villains to do something like that. Like, it wouldn't fit with Vader or Palpatine.
No,
or
don't you remember
Sauron.
the great points that were made? Like, Vader is the bad guy. Like, even if he raped Leia, so what? He's the bad guy.
He is the bad guy.
I'm not even going to entertain that thought. That's so degenerate.
So is Chronal, actually.
Yeah.
Wait till that gets brought up in Darkness, when Leia is like remembering how Vader forced her like to strip on the Death Star.
People who believe that Vader raped Leia need their hard drive checked. I'm just gonna say that. That's just me.
Not necessarily raped, but yeah.
It probably wasn't consensual, so I just assumed. But yeah, even like forcefully stripped. That's a very weird thing to believe, and you're very strange if you think that, if you even entertain the thought. The fun thing is that the Vong are so three-dimensional compared to other Star Wars aliens that you can't put them all in the same box, like faith, morals, and etc. Like, villains can be characters too?
No,
they have to be brain damaged retards like Dala.
Or exactly, or like
Exakun.
Or a faceless evil faction that's just like cannon fodder that's supposed to die and then
like the
be evil.
That's fun.
That's so fun.
Don't you like fun?
I really like fun. Who doesn't like fun?
Me.
I guess so. Don't Villips kind of get absorbed? They open up, or I think they're like driven inside out or something when they're used, but they're very obviously like it's obvious to see what they are. Like, they've seen Villips multiple times at this point, so that was just kind of what I wondered. I mean, it's like it's shaped like a head, right? So it's like round shaped. I assume that would be your first instinct now. Oh, that's a Villip, because that's the shape that it has. But I don't know. Yeah. Chapter 11. We have Han reliving Chewie's death again, and so far it's really well shown that it's what he thinks about constantly, because he obviously always mentions it. He also feels shame for his words towards Anakin and how he can't take them back anymore, which is really nice. And yeah, that's the thing you're guilty about when you realize you have said words, is that the other person can't unhear them anymore. Han and Roa, by chance, actually go to Ort Mantell, where Leia is also going to. We can immediately see huge amounts of people looking for easy jobs or for charter flights towards the core, where they can reunite with their family. And yeah, it's that atmosphere just kind of felt really good. Like, it makes the war feel much more real, since you can actually see direct consequences on other places. And yeah, it gives you the feeling that all of this actually is happening, which isn't that self-evident in other stories.
Really happening.
It's really.
Oh my god!
Exactly. They weren't just kids; they were kids, and they were also in a war that was actually going on.
Yeah, it's like they were younger at one point, but now this is really happening.
Dude, time.
Oh my god, it's crazy how that works. Yeah, they speak to a guy in a bar to find out more about Rekdash, and that guy tells them about a guy called Boss B, who might know where Rekdash is. The question about who runs Rex Enterprise is met with fear, so it must be pretty serious. And he, very surprisingly, even though he has a fake identity, so Han having a fake identity, which is good, that's also not self-explanatory, he gets found out by Bosk, who's also in the bar. He taunts him about Chewie and Chewie's death enough that Han starts a fight with him, which, yeah, that's probably what both Bosk and Han would do. Like, Bosk doesn't have much character in my mind because I haven't read any stories where he has, but I know that
he doesn't have a character.
That's good. But yeah, I know that Trandoshans hate Wookiees and vice versa. That's how much I know about Bosk. So yeah, I guess he would make fun to Han about Chewie's death, and Han would definitely punch him in the face for it.
Based.
That is indeed based. Chapter 12. Yeah. So at least everyone recognizes that even the wrong attack might have all been very much an attempt to fool them, but that Elan nevertheless will be important in some way, which is true. Like, there's always good reason to still hold on to her, even though they realize that all of this is probably a trap. And that's good, because we get to still tell the story forward, but we have characters are like being smart about it, actually. And that's always nice. She offers them to reveal agents' identities and possibly the location of other war coordinators. The senators here understandably ask the question of whether she might communicate with the war coordinators right now, since they have telepathic abilities, and what she even wants from them as compensation. The agent Calendar, who, remember her, she's still here, says that the communication might be happening, and therefore they don't reveal anything, which is good. So they're like, we're not going to tell her anything because she might actually be hooked up to some war coordinator right now. But they also want to meet the Jedi to also reveal information to them, about Mara's illness, supposedly. Yeah, it did kind of surprise me that nobody is really questioning why they are only gaining stuff from this deal and not really having to give her anything specifically in return. So that was kind of what I found strange. Like, she's not exactly asking for any compensation. Other than asylum, I guess. Not being executed is probably the compensation, which also makes sense then. Yeah, and apparently their next target is Ord Mantell, which of course is going to be interesting because both Leia and Han are on there. Leia is negotiating with leaders about the refugees who she wants to send to already like functioning intact planets with infrastructure and defense, to not just have to build up empty planets like from the ground up. The leaders understandably kind of counter how they're supposed to carry that burden. Like how they're supposed to carry that burden if the New Republic decides to cut its funding for this project. To which Leia also kind of logically counters that literally everything is on the line right now. Like, either we're all going to survive this or nobody, basically. Yeah, but she's kind of trying to plan ahead on what to do with the refugees. She wants to essentially create like relatively separate ethnic enclaves of refugees to not cause any conflict there between the species, because that's
Racism.
something that always happens. Very based, yeah. Be smart, stay apart, I guess. I don't know. But there you go. They're doing that. And yeah, if necessary, she knows that people will have to be brought to order, though in some form of moderation. But security might have to be deployed if hostile species need to be housed together, possibly, and that violence might be necessary to keep order, which is very realistic. Like, she's not pretending as though those are some like angels that are just going to be very thankful for everything and not going to care about anything else. Like, they're going to bring their conflicts with them, and that needs to be taken care of. So yeah. Chapter 13. Oh yeah, Vergia also cries about humans, because of course everybody does, since they, by apparently conquering all evolutionary niches for themselves, eradicates others like her species. I didn't quite understand what precisely that meant, but I was like, okay, sure, yeah, whatever you say. Yeah, exactly. Vergia seems kind of Stockholm syndromed about Elaine. At least that's the vibe she's giving you right now, that she's obviously not being treated very well, but she also still very much cares about her. So I don't know what exactly that was. And yeah, I think her but yeah, even though she is like that, you can tell that she's hiding the fact that she is a Jedi from Elan, because I just assume that she knows that. Like, she hasn't forgotten that she was a Jedi. She does. She does know that still, but she doesn't tell anybody. So she's very much not really an ally of the Vong. Yeah, I think her view also of the Force being a double-edged sword is kind of nice. So that the Force can be useful to win.
With 3 sides.
With 3 sides, of course.
Of course, with 3 sides, yeah.
The Force is 2 of them, and then the 3rd side is the Mandalorians. So
yeah, humans are too. Yeah, exactly. It's weird how everything good in the Star Wars universe mostly involves humans. Weird. But yeah, she calls the Force a double-edged sword because it can be very useful, of course, to win. But afterwards, you feel too sure of yourself, and you might lose everything. Even what you have previously won, if you are too reliant on the Force and you're actually making mistakes because you're too reliant on it. Yeah, I wonder if there ever will be such an arrogant and foolish Jedi who will actually lose everything that he fought for in the Star Wars universe moving forward. I don't think there will. I feel like they've learned their lessons at this point, but maybe that's going to happen. Who knows? She also says that the Force should be reserved for those with the wisdom to recognize the correct moment to swing and like who only swing at the actual correct moment, so who are smart about their power, which makes sense. You don't want supreme force powers in the hands of a retard like Kip Doran, let's say, pre this series, to be fair. And what is kind of cool is to see former enemies from the New Republic and Empire cooperate in joint attack forces, and it's interesting and gives you the feeling that the previous books actually matter, which, that's very much not a
because something we haven't been talking about is that there have been a shitload of references to the other books by this point, but they're not really worth talking about every reference. It's just
it's like
they're just regular conversations.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's like, oh yeah, Calendar, she's from the book I read, and like all of these, they are from the daily books. Like
Deathseed Plague. Here you go.
Exactly, yeah, and then like that's not particularly meaningful inherently. It's like that's the bottom, like that's the minimum that you need to do if you write a connected universe. Like, yes, previous books happened. That's what everybody has to do. That's not something to be celebrated by itself. That's like, as I said, the minimum standard. It's interesting how that mirrors Anakin, who, even after winning countless battles, still lost everything by being too dependent on using controlling the Force for his own deeds. Exactly, yeah. And just numerically, the amount of things he did wrong aren't that much compared to the things he did right. But that one time he chose wrong, and then he made a few further decisions, and everything, like all the years and years of good deeds before, like all of them were rendered meaningless because everything that was won by that was lost in essentially like one day, more or less. So that's actually a nice way to think about that. That it kind of mirrors what happened at that point. And maybe, I don't know, when did Hero's Trial come out? Maybe that also like randomly coincided by the time that was released, and they like maybe kind of referenced that Force being a double-edged sword thing in NJO2. Yeah, I don't know. So, chapter 14. There wasn't a lot to say here, actually. Han, Roa, and the guy that they met in the bar, who's called Phasgo, are bailed out of jail by Boss B, who turns out to be a Big Bungie, so a former opponent of Han. He seems to be thankful to him and generous in wanting to share info about Rakdash, because they operate in the Hutt space to destabilize it before the Vong are about to attack. And he also wants to do it for Chewie. He even said he would have killed to have somebody like Chewie. And then they're there too as the Vong are about to attack. Chapter 15. Yeah, still not a lot to say here. So this is mostly an action chapter with a space fight at Ord Mantell. It's just pretty much nice to read and easy to follow. In one of the Vong warships, we have some huge creature hiding, and that creature's attacking the Jubilee wheel, where Han, Roa, and Phasgo are inside. It's ripping it open and sucking Roa and Phasgo into itself before Han finds a Rin that he cooperates with to get the door shut so that they can escape. That Rin knew that the airstream outside was not from the vacuum, but from the creature that's still there, specifically to take people with them, like we've heard the Vong are doing, and also did in the past already. So I was like, okay, I guess that Rin is going to be slightly more important the moment he has those kinds of informations, and he kind of seems to stick to Han for now. They help a bunch of civilians and children who are without their parents, and then try to escape from the Jubilee wheel into the space battle. Chapter 16. Han and the Rin escape, and Han immediately targets the monster in a desire to rescue Roa and Phasgo. But that's when Han realizes that he is now in the exact spot that Anakin was in on Cernpedal, and that the people he saved don't need an idiot trying to attack a monster with no weapons or shields. And with pain in his heart, he vows to make peace with Anakin the moment he manages to escape, because he just realized that, oh, okay, this is how it's like. I was always wrong about this. Han manages to escape from 4 skips and then returns back to Ord Mantell. And while pretending that everything went well, nothing is actually as it used to be, since, like, Han thinks about it, Roa and Phasgor are either captured or dead, and he's also shaking like crazy, so he isn't as confident about his space battles as he was before. Like, now he's actually feeling very afraid. And that whole scene was just pretty nicely done when you realize that things aren't as they were before, even during, like, the war with the Empire. Things were very differently. And yeah, the enemies then escape, and Admiral Poignard or Poignard, I don't know, whatever way you want to pronounce him, I guess, doesn't quite understand how they supposedly repelled the Vong attack, because they're like, wait, they were stronger than us. How did we manage that? He confirms that the headquarter info about an attack on Ord Mantell was true. But it was good, at least, that he knew that something was off and that the outcome of the battle didn't make a whole lot of sense. Chapter 17. So we now meet Rekdesh for the first time. He's meeting a guy that contacted him to supposedly share information that could help his standing with the Vong, and to also secure a place to secure him a place once the New Republic inevitably loses the war. He is clothed like a Talboon, and he gives him info on where Elan and Vajir are being brought to, telling him to try and capture her to return her to the Vong before they reach Bilbringi. So also immediately interesting that we apparently have somebody with information about the Vong in some way, who is actively trying to get the Vong's allies to do something that the Vong actually don't want them to do. So of course, the fact that Elan and Vajir are captured is the actual plan, but now they're gonna possibly try to interfere with that. And yeah, that's really interesting. The only source of information from within the New Republic that would make sense here, like, it's probably another Vong that's saying that. So yeah, I just thought, again, the notion of Vong interfering with each other's plans as the war campaign is going on was just interesting. We now get 3PO's point of view, and he thinks back to his brief interaction with Nomenor during the Romamul crisis, and he wonders how somebody could have such hatreds for all droids that ever existed. Well, that's definitely who Nomenor is, or at least what he seemed to be. And he even wonders why exactly the possibility of being deactivated forever raises something akin to fear in him, which is pretty nice. Like, that 3PO even thinks about these sorts of things. That's nice. And yeah, then he finds Han, who is actually immensely happy to see him, which is kind of great, and a testament also to the fact that his mindset changed already. Chapter 18. So Leia helps Han, who is now depressed that he failed to rescue Roa and Phasgo. He kind of lashes out at her so many times until she tells him to essentially stay away from Coruscant until he gets his shit figured out. And that was actually, I think, the only part of the novel that I really disliked. I didn't quite understand how Han can have this realization about Anakin and how he can vow to make it up to him while also still having this kind of interaction with Leia. And I thought, like, maybe I'm missing something here, but I was really not a fan of that scene. It seemed like the conflict still needed to go on at this moment, and they needed some reason to have it go on, because the way that Han thought about Anakin previously, that didn't make sense at all to me, that he would now like be pretty rude to Leia, and push her so much that she tells him, yeah, fuck off until you solve your problems, essentially.
And it's still kind of going on even into Balance Point, which we're reading now. So
yeah, I mean, that's where it already gets changed, but yeah, that's
there's gonna be a payoff though. So
yeah, there are payoffs, but yeah. He says that he doesn't wish to tell Leia what's going on, quote, for now. But the only reason I assume he would have for not telling her is because she would definitely talk him out of doing what he's about to do. So that's probably the reason why he's not telling her anything. He has a brief talk with 3PO afterwards, and he is making him book a flight for Han to Bilbringi, with changing his voice to Leia's, and booking a flight as Leia. He promises as an exchange to copy his conscience into a hard drive to essentially save his mind in case he gets destroyed. And 3PO is kind of fascinated with the idea now that he thought about death kind of for the first time. So that was interesting. Again, we don't get a lot more about this, but it's fascinating to see those thoughts verbalized. Yeah, and Han books the flight where Elan and Vajir are supposedly there, and also it's the flight that Rek Dash is apparently gonna attack. So we just know that some things will go down at this place. Only 3PO could use. Only Lucina could use 3PO in an interesting way.
That's not true. Barbara Hamley turned him into the Terminator. So.
Oh yeah, exactly. He had superhuman powers for a reason, and he doesn't understand why cannibalism is not respected in in well-mannered circles, I suppose. Then Han didn't betray Leia, so yeah. Of course, yeah, Han didn't cheat on Leia, so good on him. What a great character. That is truly a thing to celebrate. He didn't cheat on Leia, even though he would have no reason to, but yeah. He's a Chad. He is. Chapter 19. Yeah, so I definitely from this got the impression that Lucina was trying to tell me something with Shawalter and Elan here. She's offering him to watch her put on the Uglith mask. She moans from pain, and he gets flustered while she's doing so. He wonders whether Uglith come in male and female versions, because probably not everybody has her figure, end quote. When she asks whether something is wrong with her figure, he tells her quite the contrary. So I guess he is interested. Yeah, and yeah, they have a cover, of course, while they are on the flight, and it's of course that Elan is Shawalter's wife, and they are refugees from Cernpadal, and she tries to get him to, quote, show him around on the planet they'll be on. There you go. We also learn that Shawalter has a couple of doubles of Vajir and Elan that'll be around too. They're going to show themselves, not too much, but enough that others can see them, because the Wrong aren't that easily fooled, of course. But they're all going to fly different routes to possibly, dispel any following that they have. The other agents also give him a hard time about Elan flirting with him, which just was kind of funny. So that was amusing to see. Yeah. Where's Noah? Is he safe? Is he all right?
Can't you hear him clicking?
He's here. He's
I'm busy drawing because I want to through
that. Yeah, things happened. Let's just say it. Yeah, and then Han then reunites with the Rin that he met on the Jubilee Wheel, and his name is Stroma.
Uliquel Droma?
Yes.
Exactly.
Finally.
Finally, that name gets addressed again. I mean, we never learned.
Thankfully, as we learn in Supernatural Encounters, Droma is actually a descendant of Ulik.
I feel like that's once again your version of Supernatural Encounters.
Can you prove it?
I guess I can't.
See?
That's true. There you go.
I'm also not kidding. That's actually in there.
I don't think it is.
Well, you gotta read it to find out.
Sure. So, yeah. Han even defends Droma's honor when a Metra won't let him in. He is asking him whether he thinks he's on some luxury cruiser, like who is he to deny some alien entrance to the restaurant. So that was kind of funny.
This reminds me, all this racism against the Rin species. Someone posted on the Star Wars EU Reddit, if it was intentional that the Rin are like space Jews. Jews, not gypsies. Jews. Yeah, okay, wait, there it is. I found it.
Because they're like, that
is the
wandering.
Intention. Yes, yeah. That's the intention. But I found it. This guy was like, is it intentional? They are clearly Jewish. Wait, I'm posting it in Allgemein. You can read it if you want to.
They don't have any money and haven't betrayed anybody. How would they be? It's either the Toydarians or the moon.
You want to read it because it's fucking amazing, the brain rot with these people.
I
can read it for you.
Long. Wait. Okay, yeah, do that. Go on. Read it, Noah.
Me? Okay. Yeah. Jewish and Rin connections? I don't know why this only occurred to me now, but are the Rin an allegory for the Jewish people in the Star Wars galaxy? They are both marginalized groups who face discrimination from many different people/aliens with no real basis for discrimination. Also, it seems insensitive for it to be a little on the nose. Pun not intended? For the Rin's signature feature to be a literal beak for a nose, given the Jewish stereotype. I feel like I'm reading way in between the lines here, but there's still an uncomfortable parallel to me.
That's 100% a Yankee that wrote this.
How to out yourself as anti-Semitic?
Exactly.
They have like people that think the Uruk-hai are black people.
Yeah.
But the Rin showed that picture of Droma. Look at his fucking nose. Like that's a Jewish alien if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, Lucino should have been more on the nose. Be like, yeah, the Rin were expelled from 109 planetary systems or something. Like, really drive the point home.
Have him talk like Watto. Only money.
I like the. I don't know what the accent is supposed to be that he has in the German dub, but it's so funny. Kein Geld, keine Ersatzteile. So stupid. Oh man. Yeah, so. I guess no, they aren't. They definitely aren't gypsies. They're Jews, I suppose.
Oh, that's a great. Okay, James Lucino outright confirmed that the Romani people were the inspiration for Rin. There's literally a Rin named Romani in Balance Point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They have no specific designated home. They're always wandering around. They're kind of
just
having
like
their
the
own
Jews.
Definition of hygiene. I'm just joking.
Just like the Jews.
Just like.
Don't you see it?
I can. Yeah, I clearly see the connections now. Noah became one because he has a James Lucino profile picture now. So, yeah. Han keeps his fake identity from before, and he just remembers good old times. And when he was asked how old, he replied, "Old enough to be good," because it kind of seems like an eternity for him that things were actually just good. So that's kind of what I got from that wording. Yeah, so that was a nice thing from him to say it like that, because Chapter 20. So Luke wants to meet Vergia and Elan and is at least aware that it's very likely a trap. Of course, he wants to because he hopes that they might actually have a cure for Mara, and also to show the New Republic that they are willing to cooperate with them. That the fact that it's very likely a trap, and Mara and Luke should, according to the other Jedi, be the last people to suffer anything, makes them decide to meet them together, actually, which makes sense from their perspective. They should, of course, have 2 separate rooms where those deadly parasites that would be breathed out couldn't possibly work, because they know that the Vong have brought illnesses into the galaxy, or they're at least very, very sure of it. And now, especially because they are offering Mara a treatment, it means like, okay, that's got to be from them. So they should be, prepared for the possibility that they're going to try something else. So, yeah. So that whole plan of Elan shouldn't actually be able to work, but we'll see what happens with that. Han, meanwhile, is playing Sabak, and Droma makes him play against the bank, which is like a very risky play, but he wins. He then explains that apparently the Rin came up with some of the cards from the Sabak game, which the way he explains it, essentially like match tarot cards that they read meaning out of, and he correctly reads
like the Jews.
Yeah, famously the Jews read tarot cards. Yeah. He pretty correctly like reads Han's situation in NJO so far, and then he speaks about some yet unknown thing regarding Anakin. Something about balance and adapting to life,
balance
and
point.
a possible future that isn't fully successful. It was kind of hard to discern what he said here. I mean, it's like, future telling mumbo jumbo a bit in between there, but that's basically the gist of it. But yeah, I find tarot card related things interesting, I guess, but it was tough to judge what was said here because I have no idea what precisely he means by all of this. Chapter 21. So we get what the Hutts are up to, which is to essentially broker a cooperation with the Vong to prevent a war, which seems sensible for them. The Vong, of course, still keep an attack as an option, which also is what you would expect. They learn about the Peace Brigade trying to get Elan back, which Nominor is shocked by, actually. And it seems clear that it was one of their own agents who sent the Peace Brigade after Elan and Vergia. So it's going to be interesting to see who exactly is that powerful enough, I guess, to attempt to ruin Nominor in that way. Showalter, Elan, and Vergia are on their ship. And they even have codes again to reunite with his men there. But some others knew the codes that weren't supposed to. And Showalter found out that they were fake when they... a couple of the agents there were fake. And he asked them, like every one of them, what was your last place of work? And they mentioned places that intelligence closed down a while ago, and that's how we knew that something is wrong with them. And now they are on the run from away from the fake agents, trying to find the rest of Showalter's men that are still on the ship. Yeah, exactly.
That whole part was very James Bond. Everything on that ship.
Yeah, it was agents doing like agent stuff, like having codes and.
This is my agent of chaos.
They were truly agents of chaos, yes. They're like hiding and not spilling every secret. It's really weird. It's
like the Jews.
Exactly like the Jews.
Exactly. Oh, man. Yeah, but no, it's crazy what's possible when authors have skills. Chapter 22. So, Showalter leaves Vergia and Elan with Han, who he meets on the ship, which Makes enough sense. Yeah, I mean they know Han, so yeah. I also do like that Leia is mad, but Luke and Mara are understanding about his feeling and try to comprehend what Han's next possible steps are. And I love how Leia knows that Han needs someone like Chewie, who kind of reins him in a bit. And the fact that a Wookiee followed him means that he's actually a very special person, because Wookiees, of course, don't do that for everybody. Noah?
No, because you're an asshole. And you just spammed every server. Every channel in the server? Yeah, so no.
Has he now? I guess so. So, yeah. Yeah. I like also that Leia points out how important Mara is to her, actually. Feels like, something is here that we could have explored far earlier, and we didn't. And that's sad. But here we are. And yeah, 3PO, who has caught the news of the ship Han is on being attacked, then immediately goes to Leia, feeling guilty by knowing that he was there but not telling her, and now tells her about it. And while the others don't think they can even make it, Leia reminds them that they have the fastest piece of junk in the universe, that they can very much help Han if they want to. Which is also nice, and of course she'd care and immediately try to help him no matter what she told him before. Like, of course, she loves Han, and that would be her first instinct. I'm not banned on my server. That's a skill, Blue Pig. Good on you.
Not being banned on the server where you're the only mod, yeah.
that isn't self-explanatory, yeah. Weird things happen all the time, I suppose. Chapter 23. Yeah, I like how, considering Han has no clue who Elaine is, and probably that wouldn't change anything either, he has a pretty straightforward, no bullshit attitude towards her and tries to cut off her whining, which is really funny. Like, she's trying to whine and he's just like, I don't give a fuck. And yeah, now that Han realizes that Rakdesh and the Vong are after Elaine, he corners her about the virus that she supposedly knows about, and how a Vong couldn't possibly be against that kind of death, considering what happened on Cernpadel and Drebrillion. Yeah, I also saw this as like a possibility for future stories building up on this. Like, maybe there are Vong who actually dislike what happened on Cernpadel and Drebrillion, and just in general. Maybe not. What? I'm sorry?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
That sounds like an interesting idea.
Almost like this species could be three-dimensional. No, but usually I would never assume that. Like, if I'm reading about some random Glutshito villain species in Phantom Era, I would not expect that is a plot point, because I don't know, like, do I expect some Yvithan to suddenly be an ally to the New Republic and help them? No, like, they don't give a fuck. They are actually a hive mind. But the Vong, like, the books so far have given me every reason to assume that something like that is going to happen, because we learn a new facet of the Vong culture in every book or like duology so far. So that's interesting. And yeah, I just kind of assume it's going to happen. I've realized, though, yeah, I'm not on any other EU servers. Brennan still hasn't re-added. Didn't I?
Wait, I thought you did. Yeah, you joined the other day.
Didn't somebody called the Blue Pig join Brennan's server just the other day? Or is that not you? Or were you banned again? Wait, now I actually want to have a look, because I'm wondering.
The Blue Pig. Maybe it's fake Blue Pig.
Yeah, I guess maybe you have an imposter Blue Pig, so gotta take care of that. It's probably an alt, but of you or somebody else. But yeah. Exactly. So yeah. Now Han is in conflict with himself, because he could try and take care of Rekdesh, but he would risk a possibility for Mara's cure in case Elan is truly who she says he is, or who she says that she is. It's also nice for Han to care about Mara, so that's nice.
Seems very out of character to me.
Yeah, why would Han care about people? But yeah, he immediately decides to let Rek wait the moment that he asks himself what of the two options he should take. He gets Droma to suit up Elan and Vergil so they won't be found out, and they try to get out the only way that they can, which is with one of the Peace Brigade's ships. And yeah, the Vong prevent the Peace Brigade from trying to escape when they have Elan, and a New Republic ship also arrives, so Nominor plans to let them be caught, so Elan remains in New Republic custody. And they will pretend like they actually wanted to get Elan, but are thwarted in their efforts. Which all makes sense. Like, they have the situation that they have right now, and they gotta try and make it look believable, as though they're attempting to get her back. Tell whom what? Like about your alt?
I think it's already gone.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, because I don't find anybody named Bluepig anymore, so I guess he was yeeted out. Chapter 24. Again, we have a little space fight here. Once again, the New Republic is using the tactics that they have learned before by using their inertia compensation and the 4-turret like quick fire. We also seem to get something new, because the Vong apparently just disappear, and then they move 2,000 clicks into another direction. So they have some form of, I don't know, immediate hyperspace or something, like teleportation. So we just know that exists. Leia can't approach the Queen of Empire. So the Queen of Empire is the ship that Han, Elan, Shawalta, and Vergil were on, because the Vong are present and they're jumping around. So she has no clue what to do against that. And the pirates have been threatening. So the Peace Brigade have been threatening to throw out passengers unless the New Republic ships leave, which they also won't respond to, because it's against the principles of the New Republic to take the demands of pirates seriously.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah, we don't negotiate with terrorists. I guess so. Understand that. And since they assume that they are taking people for sacrifices and they will essentially die anyway, not even Han's presence on the ship makes them consider that, which is annoying but kind of understandable. Like, you get where they're coming from. Even though Han has made the promise to leave Rek behind, the moment that he sees him, his plans immediately change. It's causing everybody to get caught. The Uglith mask is peeled off from Elan by some predator that they have, that the Uglith apparently is afraid of. And they are being taken away, while of course not being able to actually leave, since the Vong are preventing the Peace Brigade from leaving, because they are essentially wanting to sacrifice them so that the New Republic can take Elan and Vergil back. Rek, now that he talks to Han, is, well, he's kind of the vile, like, disloyal villain that you would assume him to be. So that's how you'd expect. Han's mind changing, that the moment he sees the guy who has been additionally responsible for a lot of his grief, is understandable too. Like, of course, logically he wants to help Mara far more than he wants to take revenge, but just when he sees him, all these rational thoughts go out the window immediately. Chapter 25. So Droma saved Han, who was thrown away by Rek. Then New Republic soldiers also arrive, and one of them don't know who Han even is, which that does not exist.
At least he has a beard, So, you know.
He has a beard,
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Literally a different person now.
Of course, yeah.
Maybe they thought he was the I forget to pronounce his name. The guy on the cover that you guys thought.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Schwalter.
Maybe. Yeah, Han then reunites with Luke, Mara, Leia, R2, and 3PO. And, while I'm sure that he's happy, so Leia definitely is, he immediately tells them about Rek, Elen, and Vegeta and flies away in the Falcon. Leia prevents the others from stopping him, realizing that what he's doing is important to him, and he needs to get whatever this is out of his system now. And it's nice that now she doesn't get mad at him for just disappearing. He shared the most important information, and he just needs to go immediately, and she understands. Yeah, I like that when Droma mentions how big the co-pilot chair is, Han briefly thinks about Chewie again, and he almost even cries. But then he pulls himself together and continues onwards. And it's a pretty nice representation of him managing to slowly move on from the death. And yeah, it's also good of Han to go in with a spacesuit because you don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, Rex's shuttle, we know, was stopped by a Dovin Bazal. So Han enters the shuttle and finds that everybody is killed by the Botu, except Elen and Vegeta. And exactly, yeah. Chapter 26. Han and Droba have both Droba. Yuli Kaldroma. They both have pretty sensible questions here. So Droma, so now the Rins, we had references to the Rin just having a lot of knowledge about various topics from the galaxy, and now
like
that
Jews.
And yeah, he feels like he knows Vegeta's species, and that she can't possibly be extraterrestrial, because how would they know what kind of species she is if she wasn't in the galaxy before? Yeah, both of them know that something is fishy with the whole situation. Han thinks about how even if the crew died of the virus, it doesn't explain why the ship would stop flying. And they figure out that because one of Rex's men mentioned that they couldn't detach themselves from the Queen of Empire after they themselves caused it to break, that a Dovin Bazal could have been ordered by the Vong to fixate them there, which is, of course, exactly what happened. And yeah, I absolutely love how Han can tell from the way the Vong fired them that they're appearing to be letting them escape. Like, they're not seriously shooting at him. They, of course, want him to take Elen and Vegeta with him. And he wonders what would happen if they just did no evasive maneuver at all, just flew forwards and tested whether the Vong would still miss. He starts talking to the two of them, asking whether only a Vong could control the whether only a Vong that could control a beast, the beast that the Uglith mask was afraid of before, which Elen affirms. And then Han points out that she said that the virus was something the Vong were immune to, but the guy who controlled the beast, who could have only been a Vong, also died on Rex's ship. So, something must be wrong here. Yeah, he tells Droma to do a 180 immediately, and he's having both of them in his crosshair, so about Elen and Vegeta. He tries to push her into an escape pod, but he gets pulled into it by her, and then she releases the Botu against him, and he's holding his breath. He has this moment where he I think he just has a brief realization of what to do himself, but he thinks that he's actually hearing a voice say poisonous air, and that's how he knows what to do. And he thinks back to the toolkit that Anakin gave him and takes out a breathing device that he manages to utilize in this moment. He manages to escape out of the pod while Elen stays inside and dies of the spores. Vergia seems to press tears into like a little flask or whatever, like something that she can store the tears inside. She gives them to Han. She's telling him the Jedi need to get this and thanks him for the chance to return to her people. And she seems to manage to escape afterwards.
And as we know from later sources, her people are actually the Sith.
Yes.
I feel like we don't know that. I feel like that's incorrect.
She meets up with Lumaya right after this book, just so you know.
What?
Yeah, so they can discuss their master plan of turning Jason to the dark side.
Stupid question, but a character that left our galaxy during the prequels, how would that character know who Jason is?
Yeah.
The news.
News
that
travel he would have access to in another galaxy.
Very stable connection.
That despises technology.
She came back here and then she left. And
so I think the explanation
in the 2 pages, like in the 2 seconds after this page, right? She starts watching the news and then sees this one random kid, and that kid was like, seems pretty like he doesn't know what he's doing. So that's the goal.
Douglas brings up a good point in the comments. How would Vergia know who Lumaya is?
Shut up.
I think the explanation in quotation marks, between this book and the next time we see Vergia, there's a couple of months, 2 or 3, I think, where she was gone, and also gone from like the Yuuzhan Vong. And the Denningverse retcon implies in that time frame, she apparently met Lumaya for the first time, and they just they decided, hey, Rule of 2 needs to return. We gotta get that Jason Solo.
But if both Lumaya and, in theory, Vergia were Sith, doesn't that mean that the Rule of 2 is complete?
No. You need a master and an apprentice.
But the Rule of 2 doesn't work if the people are public, right? The whole point is that you do it in secret.
That doesn't make sense because people think Lumaya is dead.
Which she isn't.
The idea is that Lumaya thinks of herself as Vader's apprentice, which she isn't, by the way, but she thinks she is. So Rule of 2, because it goes in order with every lord taking an apprentice. So Vader was the last one, and he trained Lumaya, allegedly, and now she needs to have an apprentice. So Vergia can't become her master, and Lumaya is the one who needs to continue the circle with Jason.
But if Vergia was a Sith, then we still have a Sith without an apprentice.
Yeah,
I mean, look, you can say a lot of things about the Sith, but the Rule of 2 isn't that complicated to understand. It's pretty
Apparently it is. Wait till you get to Legacy of the Force when they start establishing like Old Republic Sith lore, which is never mentioned anywhere again. Like, Lumaya makes like a necklace or something with like a bunch of different knots that you have to decipher, and it's like a prophecy of like the things the future Sith Darth Caedus has to fulfill. And it's like...
Look, I'm one of those weirdos that actually likes the Old Republic. You can't tell me that that's more retarded than this. What the fuck are knots that are supposed to tell a prophecy?
First of the knots are supposed to lead Jason to Lumaya because he needs someone to translate what they mean. Because
why would he?
Because it's like ancient language that he can't decipher, so he needs to go to a specialist, which is Lumaya in a disguise. And then she takes him and Ben and someone else to her asteroid base. And then she's like, yo, I'm Lumaya. Vergia was a Sith. And then Jason has a vision of every future that's possible, and he realizes if he doesn't become a Sith, Luke Skywalker will die. So he becomes a Sith and murders his apprentice.
Is it explained
why
that would happen to Luke?
No. Just that if Jason doesn't turn, Luke will die. So to save Luke Skywalker's life, Jason turns dark, which is one of the dozens of reasons that he turns to the dark side, which are never treated as being different reasons and don't make sense. You have so much to look forward to with Legacy. You're gonna beat my beatdown in terms of like length. Like my beatdown is like what, 10 hours?
Yeah, 10 hours.
Yours gonna be like 40.
Yeah. It's gonna be a full-time week.
Yep.
Like CNN. Yeah, she probably watched CNN in the wrong galaxy. Whew. Okay. Yeah. About the chapter, yeah, I think this moment when the entire plot to, trap the Jedi just kind of clicked for Han, and he realized was probably my favorite Han moment in all of Star Wars, actually, because it was really insane. Like, it was insanely satisfying to read, for him to make all these connections and suddenly to like realize, wait, this doesn't make sense, and this and this and this, and oh, okay, this is all the plot. I really like this scene.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. And
Agents of Chaos, written by Kevin J. Anderson.
Yeah. And I have to say, I did kind of expect the Elaine storyline to go out in another way. Like, I assumed that she would actually turn into somebody who would stay in the galaxy, and that, maybe she would initially be sent out as a plan, but maybe that would change, or she would actually escape there and remain there. But as we know,
get some good dick and then change.
Exactly, yeah. Not raped because she saw her master naked accidentally. That would be very, very uncomfortable. But no, but I think ultimately this was a pretty incredible arc, and I enjoyed all of it coming down very much. So that was very good. Chapter 27. So Scour is speaking to his people from the New Republic intelligence. He's essentially summarizing what's up. They look like losers, which is true, because they lost Elaine, even though they could, in any case, have gotten something from her, and also because somebody breached their ranks and infiltrated them. That's how there were fake agents chasing Shawalta, essentially smashing their entire spy network. Like, yep, that is what happened. Yeah. They consider that it could be someone with an Uglith mask, or the Vong could also be potentially just buying off people, like they are doing, or like they did with the Peace Brigade. The Jedi, meanwhile, are looking at Virgia's tears that she gave them, specifically mixing it with droplets of Mara's spit to see whether it reacts in any possibly toxic way. Which is smart, not just giving it to her, assuming that it would help. But like,
every other author would have done just that.
Yeah, like just giving it to Mara, and she's drinking it like a vodka shot, and then she would die or something, and that would be, well, this just happened. Yeah, that would have happened probably, but it doesn't here because Lucino has a brain, so he has them do experiments before actually giving a patient some
a completely experimental drug.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, try this new cocaine. It's totally gonna help.
It's so much better than the old cocaine.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and Han also mentioned to them how Virgia reacted very weirdly when he spoke about Luke Skywalker. So that's probably her remembering Anakin's name from Rogue Planet.
That book hasn't been written yet. We don't know that.
It hasn't been written.
But yes.
Yeah, of course. But yeah.
No, it's clearly because she's a Sith.
Of course, yes. Yeah.
Keep that in mind when you explain now what happens with the tears.
Yeah, so anyway, she reacted weirdly to the name Skywalker. So, of course, she knew Anakin in the later written Rogue Planet. So that's probably that. And they also mentioned that Droma apparently knew her species from somewhere. He just doesn't really know from where, but he has definitely seen the species before. Yeah, and while everybody's considering whether it's safe for Mara to get the tears, Mara just grabs them and drinks them, and is also having some of them absorbed into her hand, like into her skin. and it briefly looks like she seems fine. Then she has a seizure, kind of, and
Oh, my mistake.
What?
Sorry, I said my mistake. Rogue Planet's actually already out.
Oh, is it?
May 2nd, 2000 versus August 2000 for this book.
Crazy. Okay.
I didn't know that. All right.
So this would actually be one of these rare occasions where you read a book and then you read one of the following books and they're like, oh my god, this character is back. And they were these people. It's like, yeah, that's actually something that Rogue Planet mentioned.
That'd be crazy. Reading Rogue Planet and then reading this a few months later.
Imagine reading Rogue Planet.
Sad.
What? It was pretty good. It was good.
I like Rogue Planet.
I do too. Yeah, so exactly, Mara seems to have a brief seizure, and she's also having doubts about her decision, which is, like, for a moment, it's pretty scary, because it actually looks like something serious might happen to her, and you never really see Mara this doubtful. And then she starts to apparently shine brightly in the Force and get better. So it appears that she's either cured or she's stabilized far more than she's ever been. She doesn't seem fully cured, but she's basically like in a healthy condition now. Yeah. That's a weird thing for a Sith to do, to save the enemy.
No, don't you see? It makes complete sense because she's evil Sith lady.
Because
I'm sure she knew that Mara was gonna be the sacrifice.
But Mara wasn't the sacrifice. It was
the love he had for Ben.
Yeah.
Listen, you guys make it sound like this wasn't planned out, like 30 books in advance.
Crazy thing, but like if the turning to the dark side of Jason was actually more planned out and maybe written more competently, I still wouldn't like it, because the idea just there's certain ideas that I just don't like, no matter how well they're executed.
Han and Leia's kid is the next Sith Lord villain. Yeah, no, thanks.
I don't need that, thank you.
Kylo Ren is a better character, just saying.
Kylo Ren is more entertaining. At least he seems more entertaining. Like, he's actually fun to look at on screen because it's funny whenever he's there.
He's schizo, and that's based.
Yeah, it's really funny.
He imagines Han forgiving him, and that's great.
Unshaven, drunken Han. Like, what is the in-universe reason? Is that how Han looked like, spending time with his 10-year-old kid, just drunk on the weekends? Like,
probably, yeah.
That's amazing. And he also gets the shirtless scenes.
Oh, yeah, of course. It is crazy how quickly back-to-back we had those imagined forgiveness scenes, like with Kylo Ren and Han Solo, and also with Ellie and Joel from Last of Us 2. Like,
dude, imagine in New Jedi Order if Han, he didn't get this arc at all, and later on Anakin just has like a vision of Han forgiving him for the whole Chewie thing.
And Han also imagines Chewie like forgiving and saying it's okay, this was all necessary. And then they just move on.
It's okay, it was my choice.
Force ghost.
Yeah, like, and it's like before that they're just being terrible human beings. They're like killing, mercilessly murdering people, and then they're like, I forgive you. Like, great. Now the story can continue, I guess.
Oh, a good equivalent is like, because all the shit Kylo has done, like killing his dad. Fucking imagine if Han beats up Anakin. And then after the fact, he imagines Chewie forgiving him, like, it's fine, everything you did, it's okay.
I understand.
I would have
done the same.
Yeah. He's just beating up his child.
In character, yeah.
Oh, obviously, yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Imagine well-written stories that make sense.
That is very foreign to the Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how many people wish for others to read shit before they read good stuff just because. Oh man,
but dude, did we even bring this up? This book prominently features these military characters from the Black Fleet Crisis.
Yes.
Aren't you so happy that you read Black Fleet Crisis before this.
No.
It mentions the Death Seed flag. You needed Planet of Twilight, okay?
It was very important.
Calendar is in there. She's from what Corellian trilogy, so that was very important, obviously.
Yeah, to be fair, Corellian trilogy was important. You wouldn't have appreciated, the scene in the next book as much.
That's actually true. I wouldn't have known how wonderful of a human being Threatensail Solo is without the Corellian trilogy. So that's actually the one important scene, or the important fact from the Corellian trilogy. The character of Calendar definitely isn't. Yeah, as I said, I love how Kathy ties. Like, it's the trilogy that her OC dies in, and she just refers to it as that other Corellian crisis, or that other center point crisis we had.
Oh, by the way, that's not going to be the last center point crisis, because Standingverse, we get 2 more.
Is the outcome based?
Yes, but it takes a long while till we get there.
That's
the only based outcome would be Corellia winning.
Oh wait, no, the outcome isn't based because it leads to Fate of the Jedi.
But the outcome in Legacy of the Force itself.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
But I just know the retcon, what it leads to.
You mean to tell me that the Denningverse wasn't pre-planned?
No.
Okay, then I'm calming down now. Yeah. Chapter 28. Han and Anakin seem to have a real heart-to-heart. They're speaking about everything that's happened so far, basically, and then Han apologizes for everything that he said to him since Cernpadel, and Leia is so overjoyed from watching the scene that she almost cries. Anakin registers what Han is saying about not going on a path of revenge, but still realizes that the Vong are the ones who are fighting the war on this personal level, which is definitely correct. Like, the Vong have made it personal, not them. So I guess kind of Anakin feels maybe that in some ways, maybe revenge isn't inevitable, but it's to be expected because of how the Vong are fighting. And yeah, while Leia will keep taking care of the refugee issues, Han still wants to look for Roa and also Droma's missing family that Droma spoke about. Leia tells him that she isn't Mala, and their home can't just be an outpost for his next escapade, but also understands that constantly transforming himself is kind of part of his character. And yeah, so there's lots of understanding here, but I was like, I am ready for this relationship to just be prepared, because her saying I'm not Mala essentially means I'm not gonna wait for you forever, which that sounds a bit too blackpilling for me for everything that happened. It's kind of to be expected the way that things turned out. I guess I was just they should have turned out another way. I mean, nothing ever happens because of that kind of implicit threat. We'll have scenes that happen, but nothing really happens of that threat. But yeah, kind of, it's understandable for now because Han still isn't really done with the whole Droma story. So we'll just have to wait, and all of that will be paid off eventually.
And now he's personally involved too, because his old friend is kidnapped as well.
Exactly, and since Leia also knows what's going on right now, and isn't just seeing Han go away every time without saying anything, she has far more understanding of the situation. And chapter 29, the Vong have a meeting over their recent loss and also their struggles with apparently resupplying their alliance. So they plan on moving to the Hutt space and get more Yorick corals there, while Harar and Tla were sent to the Outer Rim. Nomenor gave Harar and Elen the blame because of their lack of improvisation skills. But yeah, Nomenor
issue.
It was literally a skill issue. That's kind of funny, actually. Nomenor is losing his standing with War Master Tsavong La, but apparently already has a plan to contact some high-level collaborator from Coruscant, who we will learn more about shortly. Yeah, I did kind of wonder, like, how would one even seek contact with the Vong from Coruscant? But yeah, the person has a Vilip, so I guess they were kind of smuggled onto Coruscant at some point. I do like how Prefect Drathu asks Nomenor whether they underestimated the, quote, infidels. And he just, like, Nomenor just says, only their luck. And I feel like, that arrogance, I guess, that Nomenor has, like saying, no, they were just lucky. There's nothing about the people themselves that we are underestimating, might be his eventual downfall, especially since I think it was Harar that said, these, like, the conviction of these people is not to be underestimated, and he is now essentially gone from the campaign because he's in the Outer Rim, not in the main campaign forcing its way into the core. And yeah, I like how Han makes a point to tell Droma to not see their partnership as a permanent thing, since he says humans don't know life debts, and he's clearly, it's clearly him being still kind of traumatized about that whole life debt thing and how it's, well, brought Chewie into the position that he was in. But he promises him they'll find his family even if they will search half the galaxy for them. Or for them. And that's it. That was Agents of Chaos 1 Heroes Trial. So, how did you guys like it, if you're still awake at this point even?
Yes, extremely boring.
Worst book in the series. Probably the worst book I've ever read.
It might honestly be, yeah. Like, I've never fell asleep so many times while reading a book.
Yeah, this James Lucino guy, I don't even know why they keep bringing him back.
Exactly, yeah.
All he does is make references to other things. It's so cringe.
He obviously has no skill when it comes
to
Han
writing. Solo a character arc that makes sense.
Ew. Why would a middle-aged family man have character arcs? That's so cringe.
He should actually just gamble the Falcon again on
5 times in one book. Maybe he should meet his ex-girlfriends and cuddle with them, like he did in Crystal Star. I don't know. Maybe that's what Han's.
Yeah, bring back Rhea.
Yeah. No, it's this James Lucino guy. I feel like he has a bright future ahead of him. I think like
he's not quite Brian Daly, but he's trying.
He's trying. He's attempting it. He's getting there, but very slowly and surely. But no, yeah, So while that whole premise of Elend's storyline, now I think a bit more highly of it. I did think in the beginning maybe that the initial premise was a bit weak. Like, how would that plan even realistically work with how much the Jedi would be careful with any wrong contact? But still, the execution of the entire story was fantastic. Obviously Han and Leia, they still have their issues that I didn't really like, but Han had so much to do here. There's so many steps for possible future stories that I feel like are actually also going to happen. Nomenor and Vergia are also pretty interesting to see that their characters are also, going places that are going to be very relevant still moving forward. And the Jedi Order with a basically kind of fully healed Mara again, and how that's going to change things. And yeah, all this is really great. And I said 8.5 to 9 out of 10, something like this. I don't know what you guys gave it, but yeah.
8.5, I think, is a fair grading.
Yeah.
It does have one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars, and that's I can't believe I forgot to mention this in Chapter 7, but it's when he's like, Han is reminiscing on the Falcon, just reminiscing about his history, and then it's during the scene where he's like, it's lost his edge. Persistent curators have been urging Han to donate the Falcon to a museum, and then Han remarks that he also belongs in one. which is the exact quote. People keep messing up. That's whatever. But then after that, he gets annoyed because he's trying to find like a flask of alcohol, and Chewie, I guess, moved it or something. So he starts getting really angry and starts slamming his fist on the terminal.
Very relatable.
And then just the anger turns into sadness. It's so good. It's just
I like that we got an indie reference in there.
Yeah.
Very necessary. Yeah.
It's also better than the one Timothy Zahn gave in Scoundrels. Do you know the reference?
I don't know.
So Scoundrels is about Han and his Ocean's 11 crew stealing like money and stuff from like a vault thing. That vault is a giant ball, essentially, and it comes rolling after him, just like in the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Nice. That sounds cool. But something. Yeah, it's something. It definitely is something. But yeah, no, this was pretty great.
It gave Han some much-needed character and some development after what's happened in.
This is like the first time Han has been a character since
Rebel Dawn.
I'm trying to think since Dark Empire.
Yeah, probably. Thrawn and Dark
trilogy,
Empire, he was there.
And Thrawn trilogy, he had his point with like he's using his old smuggler contacts, and then Dark Empire, he's like, I'm gonna train New Republic fighter pilots, which also makes sense. And then,
that's it.
Jedi Academy onwards, it's just like, we're gonna send you to the prison planet.
We're gonna try everything to get you to fucking die.
We're gonna send you to Kessel without a backup.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh man, but no. What can I say? It's a James Luceno book. It's fantastic. Yeah, I think there's not a whole lot more to say.
And this was his first one.
His first one, yeah. It's kind of crazy, actually. He started off with that as his first one. Yeah. No, this was it. This was pretty fun. I don't know when we'll speak about Jedi Eclipse. We're gonna have to coordinate because summer.
AKA The Last Chance.
What? I'm sorry?
AKA The Last Chance.
The Last Chance, of course, yeah. The last chance for Star Wars to redeem itself, to restore morality. And we'll see whether that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see. Summer is going to be eventful. How we're going to manage that. But yeah, this was really fun. If you've,
which I guess we can talk about this quickly here. When we have the meetup, you will not stop reading New Jedi Order just for that. Just throwing that out.
I guess if I ever manage to get to the hotel room, I might read. Yes, if that happens.
Okay.
We will see. But no. So anyways, if you've listened for this long, then thanks for staying and see you next time. Bye-bye.